Heroes of Greyhawk is a game played by adults and recorded for an adult audience. Sometimes we use adult language and explore adult topics. Consider yourself warned.
My friends, last time on the Outlaws of Greyhawk, our gang took refuge at the Wretched Steel hideout after a successful stagecoach robbery, a bloody heist of valuable cargo under the protection of the Crockport Merchants Guild. Now headed to the Wretched Steel's leadership along a different route, the gang made nice with the locals, pressing cold steel upon bare flesh. That sounds kind of kinky. Partaking in a bit of sweet leaf on the porch overlooking Lake Erston, strolling beneath the giant pine trees, drowning their sorrows of treachery along the shorelines of the crystal blue lake. There were connections made with the gang at the hideout. There were some surprising moments, some comedic moments, tender moments. There was a bit of murdering. Let's not forget that sly bit of murdering that got done, a dirty deed done down by the lake's edge. And then there was a feast. The gang was treated to a home-cooked meal of elk and conies, rutabagas, parsnips, bread, brandy, sweet berries grown beneath the tall pines. It was quite nice. Conversations were had about loyalties, amulets, family, origins. Stories were shared, some reluctantly, others less so. Heck, by the end of the night, a sense of family kind of was pervasive through the old hunting lodge as these connections were made and kernels of friendship formed. Yet even then, the gang withheld something from Dolan, the Wretched Steel gang leader at this hideout. They withheld something from Dolan and his crew. The whereabouts of a crystalline sphere, for one. A scroll hidden away, tucked away, you might say, in the most sacred of hiding spots. Maybe we'll find out about that tonight. One by one, the outlaws went to their slumber. Philiomena was the last among them as she continued perhaps to struggle with, as Rachel pointed out, the past few days' events. That juxtaposition of violence against sort of this serene backdrop, the interactions that she'd had with Zelavon. And as she was about to fall asleep, a once startling voice came to her head, now soothing, motherly, for her ears, a simple message, an observation. In the late hours of the night, Philiomena finally drifting to sleep, she heard her patron's voice say, "Magnus Crane, the curiosity and the promise." And with that, Philiomena slipped into darkness. Now, later in the wee hours of the morning, of course, we know, the gang was shaken from their sleep by the sound of an alarm bell clanging, people shouting, the sound of steel clashing against steel. The lodge was under attack. Blood was being spilt. The Callenstron Rangers had found the hideout and were prepared to enact harsh judgment for the gang's infractions. In the chaos of the moment, our outlaws did their best to defend the lodge, but Dolan, with his dying breath, ordered them to make haste to the boat, to the skiff, to the cargo that had been loaded, the loot that they'd stolen only the day prior, and to carry through with their commitment to escort said loot back to Crockport and deliver it to the Wretched Steel. And with that, the gang fled down the scree-covered slope, cutting down rangers who attempted to block their path. Some brutality was enacted. And by the luck of the stars, each of them and their horses boarded the skiff as it shoved off into the darkness of Lake Erston. And just out of bowshot, a couple of arrows piercing the skin of our party, but the barrage, the flurry of arrows largely falling short as the skiff disappeared into the darkness. And that, my friends, is where we will pick back up. You have found yourself on this skiff, your heart's racing, breathing heavy, the groan of this boat as these four, let's just say, massively muscular hobgoblin men are just straining to pull the boat farther and farther from the hideout into the darkness. Their captain, a massive bugbear with jagged teeth and matted hair, encouraging them, navigating at the front of the skiff. As you sort of catch yourselves and settle in, as the darkness consumes, you see just darkness before you, and the water, the sound of the water lapping against the deck of this boat. Your horses are strangely calmed, which doesn't seem right, but they seem to not be giving much of a fuss in this strange situation for whatever reason. Nevertheless, my friends, you find yourselves on the ship, on this small boat, I should say. What would you like to do at this point?
Well, Grukka is going to make his way over to wherever Mel and Philiomena and Portis are. He's going to be looking, as he's going to them, he's looking back at where they just left. And he's going to say, I really hope our client knows the cost of what he wants. By the way, and he turns around and says, I can't reach it. Can you pull this arrow out of my back, please?
I'll do it.
Well, please, by all means.
So
Make it hurt.
she goes and Mel goes and like braces her one hand on his back, grabs hold of the arrow, and just doesn't even count. Steadfast, just yanks it out.
No. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think Philomena at this turns around. She was standing at the back of the boat, staring off from where they were coming from, not looking like herself, looking like the ranger that I think Redbeard split his head into. And as she kind of turns around, like lighting paper on fire and having it kind of flake away, the image of her reappears.
Cool.
There are better ways to take out an arrow. Yanking it really messes up with the skin and the tissue. It's a little late now, but she'll take some cloth on her shirt and kind of like try and staunch the wound. And just hold it there.
That feels better.
You tend to your wounds. You kind of gather your senses about you, and you start to see, as if you recall, the sun was just starting to sort of peek up over the horizon as you had raced down the hill, and the torches of the Calistran Rangers were sort of making their way down this switchback path through the street slope. Now the sun is beginning to rise more, and you can start to make out this large cliff face in front of you as the skiff continues to be pushed and pulled by these oarmen. You look down at them and you can see that they are just totally concentrating on the job at hand. You look back towards where you came, and you can't really make out the shoreline. It's been an hour or more now at this point as you're gaining closer and closer, and you see these marks of white, these streaks of white coming off of this large cliff face, and as you get closer, you can hear the chittering of birds that must be nesting up above, and some of them fly out almost like swifts or swallows to take flight and eat insects that may be hatching off the lake surface. And then flying back up to these little nests or these little nooks and crannies burrowed into the side of this rock face, perhaps cracks and whatnot. But as you look ahead, there is no slowing down, and these hobgoblin oarmen are just cranking on these oars, moving you towards this rock face. And it's almost as if they're not paying attention to where they're going, but then you can see it as you make out there is this small opening in the rock cliff face, a small cave entrance, and you can tell that they're making for that entrance. And the captain kind of looks over at you, and he, with sort of almost like a growl and a smile at the same time, he just looks down at you as you're kind of talking about the wounds, Philomena, and he says, "My name's Drothak. My job is to get you safely to Crockport. Don't be falling off the skiff, because once we get inside, it'll be damn hard to turn around to go get you. Are we understood?
Yes, sir.
He looks at the rest of you.
Not going anywhere.
Is there a propensity for people to fall off of your boat in the caves? Is this something that's common?
Look, old man, just stay in the middle of the boat. If you need, we can lash you. We'll lash you down next to the cargo.
I don't like the sound of that either way, but I think I'll move to the middle of the boat.
This place is a strange network of caves we'll be entering. Dangerous creatures lurking underground and such.
Oh, great.
I'd
I
be
love the sound of that.
lying to you if I didn't say that this here route we're about to take can do strange thing to a man's and woman's mind. You kind of...
Could you elaborate on what you mean by that? Strange things, sort of. Is it because it's the entire pitch of dark, or something else? What do you mean?
I mean, some people see things. Some people hear things. Well, if you see things or hear things, don't look at them and try not to listen to them, if you catch my drift.
So you're saying
What?
people go crazy in these caves? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
What do you think, boys? People go crazy in here. One of the hobgoblins looks up at you, and he's got this scar across his face. And he kind of looks up with this kind of strange grin, almost a grimace, and he just kind of nods his head. Yeah, crazy. You could say that.
Philomena's been like progressively taking steps back and behind people throughout the entirety of this conversation.
Captain, what percentage of your crew would you say falls into this definition of unstable sanitude?
Speak plainly, old man. I don't quite catch your drift.
No, I'm sorry. I'm a scholar, you know. So I tend to forget that.
Oh, you is you?
Oh, it's not important at all. My point is my question really is, how many would you say, percentage-wise, that is every one out of every, let's say 10 of your crew is crazy?
Last I counted, we don't got 10, do we, boys? He looks around.
Okay. How many do you have? Say 5?
1, 2. I count Crack as half a man. Crack just looks up, and he's the biggest of all of them. And so it's kind of a joke. He's like, yeah, right. We got 5. It's 5.
Okay, all right. So of 5.
Why'd you say 10?
It was an estimate that was easy to break into percentages. It's not important.
What happened to the other 5, pray tell? Scholar.
I think he was counting us too. There's 4 of us.
Yeah, that
plus
makes
his other
10.
Personality. So
there you go. Okay, so let's assume that of the 5 that came aboard, who aren't always aboard, they're not presently crazy. That leaves 5 of you. Would you say it is 1? Would you say it is 2? Would you say it is 3? 4? Perhaps all 5?
One of the other hobgoblins looks up at you with this sort of cold gaze, almost like staring in beyond your spectacles into your corneas, just right into your eyes. You can feel it burning. And he just says, I think if anybody falls off, the first one's gonna be the old man. What do you think, Nashir? And the other one just kind of nods. Yeah, probably.
I'm staying in the middle of the boat, I assure you.
Yeah, my money's on all 5.
Fair enough. Captain, thank you for your time. I believe you've answered my question.
I have a bit of a question.
I did.
if that's
Another
all right.
question, for fuck's sake. All right, go ahead.
It passes the time, at least a little. How long have you been doing this on this route?
Well, we just got started, miss, about, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours ago. You was with us the whole time.
You as an entirety of, like, how many times have you gone through this route yourself?
Use plain speak.
Yes. Oh, dozens, right, boys? Dozens. Hundreds? I don't know about hundreds. Maybe hundreds. 100 times, let's say. Call it 200. All right, 200 times.
And Grukka's up at the front, and Grukka's just like shouting back, going, each time is different anyways. It doesn't matter how many times he comes through here.
You been down the old smuggler's route?
No, I've not been down here.
Now you're in for a hell of a ride.
Let's make it enjoyable.
Please. It's been a lot, and I'm gonna go over to our smuggled stuff and hold on, and that's where I'm gonna be stationed.
Kind of weave your arm through the netting that drapes over all of these crates and bundles that are attached or secured to this skiff. As the hobgoblins are just straining now, and you can hear your voices begin to echo a little bit off of this wall, and about half an hour later, you can see now that the horizon has gone. All you can see is this wall as it goes up before you, and this small little hole has grown to about 40 feet in diameter. It's a massive entrance into this rock wall, and you can hear sort of like a rumbling coming out of it, just like a drone of rumbling. All right, strike the lantern. We're about to enter. Stay away from the edges. Keep your arms inside the vehicle. Everything gets dark as the shadows now come down on you, and you can see these swallows or swifts are flying just up over your head, sort of back and forth as they're picking insects off the air. And everything goes dark as the small skiff enters into this underground smuggling route. On the shoreline, this massive cliff face of Lake Erston. And immediately you feel a change in temperature. It's cold inside here. The canal tunnel is sort of like drip with condensation, and the walls are sort of wet, the ceiling wet. The music changes just because that's what happens when you go in there. The place smells kind of wet earth. Humidity is palpable. There's this faint light that's given off by there's a single lantern that's hung on a pole on the skiff, a hooded lantern that gives off enough light where Drothak can navigate the ship. You can see him kind of walking back and forth from the bow to the stern. There is a wheel at the back of the skiff that he can use to sort of direct. But oftentimes he gets up on the bow with a long pole and kind of pushes off of certain jagged rocks and things of that nature. You can tell that he's like calculating things out, and he's moving very dexterously around the skiff, sort of like leaping and stepping over your cargo and you to get to parts of the skiff so he can push off the walls and any underground under the surface of the water rocks. There's also this interesting like bioluminescent glow that comes from these occasional patches of green and blue fungus that cling to the walls and the ceiling. And it's a wide cavern, but it narrows at points. There's bottlenecks. But these bioluminescent fungi give off enough light to reveal this dark water below. And there's these stalactites that hang down like teeth of a great beast over your head. And the steady sound of dripping, as I mentioned. hitting the deck of the skiff. Water splashing against the sides of the skiff as it moves rather quickly through this tunnel. You can tell that Drothak has quite a bit of knowledge regarding this route, and maybe his jest of 100 or 200 trips isn't that far off. You get the sense that left here alone, you might readily become lost. Especially when you start to see that there are channels that go off of the main route that you're on and disappear into darkness.
How long is this the skiff? What's the average length of this thing?
It's probably about 20 to 25 feet in length. Maybe, maybe a little bit longer than that, and maybe about 15 to 20 feet wide.
So it's a big, nice.
It's a sizable platform. Yeah. Yep. It feels like a boat. It feels like a boat, right. Navigating through here.
Flat bottom boat. Grukka's going to go sit up near the front, a few feet or so away from the bow. He's going to grab his heavier cloak, put it over in his usual position. He's going to sit down, cross-legged, blade on his lap, like he was down by the lake, and basically just looking around. He has the dark vision, so he can see shades of gray. So he's just looking around. He's looking in the water. He's basically being fairly vigilant, but as he's doing that, he kind of shouts out to the captain in Goblin and says, "Do you speak Goblin?"
I do.
In that sense, Mel's gonna go to the back of the ship because she also has dark vision. She wants to make sure that nothing is following us.
Okay, give me a perception check, please. Jeff, Grukka. Yeah, the captain does respond to you in the affirmative that he does speak Goblin.
Huh. Then I just kind of say to him in Goblin, I say, I trust your navigation skills. I trust the men with you. You wouldn't be doing this so many times if you weren't trustworthy. I said, I just hope that you have our backs if something happens.
He makes no response, but he you can tell he heard you.
I'm just gonna sit there at the front, doing the same thing like Mel is doing.
Okay, give me a perception check as well, Grukka. Mel, what did you get for your check?
24.
Okay. Yeah, you look up and you can see, as I mentioned, there's these patches of bioluminescence on the walls and the ceiling. So not the entire cavern that you're navigating through is lit up, but you see sort of at the edges of where the illumination sort of ends and fades into darkness, you can see things moving along the rock walls.
I can see what they are, I can they're out of my vision.
They're staying. It seems like they're, based on your perception check, you get the sense that they're staying out of where the light is illuminating, and so they're difficult to make out what exactly they might be. But you see just they come towards the light a little bit, and then they kind of skitter away from it.
So I let the rest of my party know we've got company, but they're staying out of the light's glow. So just be on your guard.
Philomena's making herself as small as possible against the cargo. She hasn't met many monster races. Grukka was the first, and he is brutal and violent at times. Seems quite sweet at others, but also very brutal and violent. She doesn't want to engage with any of them, so she is just trying to be as quiet and out of the way as possible.
I'm not here.
You're not here.
Yeah, Grukka, what did you get for your perception check?
Grukka got a 15, and he's like, "What do you mean by monster race?"
What'd you call me? As you say that, and we're gonna come over to Portis and Philomena here in a second.
Said, so
yeah.
Philomena didn't say it. Philomena did not say that.
No, I wouldn't have said that. I was just.
That would be bad.
Rachel was saying.
Although, would these guys really be offended by that? They might think it's cool. Nevertheless, Mel, as you mentioned the having company after seeing these whatever it is skittering, one of the one of the hobgoblins just kind of turns as they're not pulling as hard on the oars as they were before, but now it's more of a finesse thing, where they're sort of like helping to steer a little bit with the oars and like push off things, rocks and other obstacles. But anyways, one of them, the one with the scar across his face, he just kind of doesn't really look at you, but he's the one that's closest to you, Mel, and he says, "Yeah, them's the slime crabs. They're all over the place in here. It tastes mighty good too, but you gotta watch out for the drip drip. You know what I mean? It'll sting.
Thanks for the heads up. I appreciate it.
Maybe we'll catch some later on this evening when we stop to make camp."
We're stopping in the caves to make camp?
What?
Yeah, there's a number of spots that have been mapped out here where we can take a rest. Trying to get through this is a bit of a journey, folks. I don't know what you expected, but it's going to take at least 2 days to get you to Crockport. But
Grukka's got his back to everybody, but Grukka just smiles.
we are well away from the eyes of the Callinston Rangers down here. They got no knowledge of this route. In fact, it ain't even on Anna's map.
Philomena just like shudders.
Well, Mel's definitely going to take a potion of healing when we rest. She needs it. But she's still gonna keep vigilant, look out for anything else, keep an eye on those slime crabs and anything else that could possibly be in the water.
100%.
Are they on the ceiling above us? That's a concern I have. Oh.
Yes, they're on the ceiling above us, staying out of the light's glow.
I will pull a cowl over my head.
Yeah, you don't want to get the drip drip on your head.
I don't. No.
Because it'll sting. What's up, Brianna? Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here, you guys. I will say this. You guys are essentially at rest right now for all intents and purposes. So, Mel, if you or anyone else who had taken damage in the escape from the hunting lodge, if you wanted to use like a hit die, you could consider this a short rest. And you could use a hit die to roll some hit points as you are resting and probably bandaging your wounds, that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Grukka's.
that'd be best.
Oh, so it'd be what? For Grukka, what is it, a 10?
It's on your character sheet. I don't know off the top of my head, but you have three hit dice because you're third level, and each of your classes dictates the size of the die that you roll. So
My hit dice.
it's right by your hit points.
Oh, I think I had something in the way here. Hit points, max hit points. Doesn't say my hit die though. But I think it's 10 anyways for a fighter, I think, right?
Yeah, it says on your character sheet. So, as you guys are going through this journey, the beginning of this journey, I would like, Portis, is there anything that you are doing other than hiding beneath your cowl and hoping that you don't have any encounters with slime crabs?
At the moment, I'm simply trying to decide which spell I want to use should I have to defend myself.
Okay. It seems like you've got some options for sure. You defended yourself quite well on the escape from the hunting lodge. Although I don't think everybody caught that except for maybe Mel.
Just Mel.
Yeah, just Mel.
Mel.
I'm gonna use my second wind. I think you said I could use that, right?
Yeah, you can use that if you'd like.
Because that's just a 1d10 plus 3 hit points gained back.
Sure, absolutely.
So I gained back 7.
There you go.
I was down 10. All right. Anyways, sorry.
Portis, give me a d6 roll, please.
What?
Very well. All right.
I don't like that. Hey, Dave,
D6.
but what if you didn't?
How about 1 through 3 is bad. 4 through 6
2.
is really bad.
Okay.
Shadow Dark.
Philomena, give me a d4 roll.
Okay. Oh no. That's a 4.
Okay. As you continue on this voyage, It's hours into it now. You're tired. The night you were abruptly woken up in the middle of the night with the attack on the lodge. The intensity of all of that sort of fading. You kind of find yourselves almost falling into like a meditative or almost like a dazed kind of state as you're trying to keep your eyes out for any sort of dangers. One thing you notice, Philomena, as you're sitting there trying to make yourself as small as possible, you see a bit of light emanating from just a momentary flash of light from the water. And you're just kind of looking around and you happen to notice it off to just behind where the boat has already passed. As you're passing by, there's just a bit of light that's there for a moment and then gone. And you turn and you look up ahead and you're kind of scanning. You see another bit of light that's there for a minute at the water surface and then disappears.
What is that? Did you see that? The light?
Was it in front of me? Did I see it?
Roll
Water?
a perception check, Grukka.
Okay. Perception D20 plus 2. I probably wasn't paying attention. That was a total of an 8.
Yeah, you did not see it. You're probably looking up maybe at the bioluminescence and the skittering. You can just sort of make out now that they explain to you that they're crab-like creatures. You can kind of see like the pinchers and the spindly legs.
Grukka's wondering what they taste like.
Philomena, what did you see?
Just some light coming from the water. There was
Show
some
me
that
where.
came behind us. I'll try to look for another.
What is it? What'd you see?
Some light from the water.
Speak up, child.
Some light from the water.
Well, I didn't even know she was here no more. I thought she fell off. Nah, she's still here. All right, what you seeing there? Is it lightning eels?
Maybe it appears for about a minute and then disappears back under.
Oh yeah, that's them, all right.
Lightning eels?
Yeah, you don't want to touch them.
Do they
Really?
taste good?
Yeah, if
Thank
you
you
touch,
for letting me know that.
they do taste real good. But if they get a hold of you, you might get the zap zap.
Great.
Mel is like nursing her head. She's like, when can we get off this boat?
I'd
Grukka
say
has
she's
had
right. Philomena's right there with you.
Couple hours yet before we get to our camp spot. Don't you worry. Them eels ain't gonna cause you any problem, but if we get a hold of one of them, maybe we'll have a right feast. Ain't that right, boys? Some good eating tonight. You keep an eye up for them again. What'd you say your name was? He's looking at you, Philomena.
Broker. The broker.
Broker. Keep an eye out. Both
Yes,
of
sir.
them, if you don't mind.
I do have two.
Indeed. Indeed you do.
She about to get just shudders and just walks towards so that she can look at things.
So the rest of the journey goes relatively, uneventful. You see these skittering animals or these crabs that are skittering across the walls and the ceiling. Every once in a while, there's a drop that comes down from the ceiling and lands on the skiff a little bit and just kind of sizzles on the wooden decking, and it makes like a mark on the deck. You're like, that's the drip drip.
That's the drip drip.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see every once in a while, you see that these lightning eels seem to be either following or they seem to be attracted to the vessel, or there's just a lot of them, because every once in a while you'll see that light just momentarily, like just a couple of seconds, as these things come up to the surface and then swim back down beneath the water.
Are
But
they
you
following
find
behind us or are beside us?
it's hard to tell because they disappear at moments and then come back. So if it's the same ones, you don't know. But if you wanted to, you could try to take a shot at one, or you could try to harvest one, I suppose. They did mention that they were good eats.
If they're not bothering us, I'm not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole.
You sure?
10-foot pole here somewhere.
Let the captain and his men deal with them if he wants to. I'll stay right here.
Yeah, they are
Philomena will
preoccupied.
point him out.
Yeah, that's probably good. They're pretty preoccupied as they're navigating through this tunnel, this underground tunnel. Eventually, you round this corner and you can see that there is the main channel that you're on. This main tunnel goes forward. There's a branching tunnel that goes off on the left-hand side that's just as big, if not bigger. And you can see that there's a little bit of a pinch point up ahead. And you hear Drothak, the captain of this vessel, just kind of turn and he says, "We made it. Pull in right over here. And we'll lash up for the night." And you kind of look around. You're like, what are you talking about? And as you come around this little peninsula, just a very narrow kind of stubby peninsula, you see that there's an old rickety wooden dock that seems to be somehow affixed to the side of the rock cavern. And there's these wooden planks that are positioned as ramps that go up into the darkness. And the captain and the Hobgoblin crew navigate the boat in. Gorik and Nashir jump up as they stow their oars. The others doing the same, but Gorik and Nashir jump up, grabbing ropes off the deck and leaping off of the boat onto this little wharf area where they pull with these massive muscled arms. They just pull the boat and lash it down to the deck of this small landing.
Philomena, I think's the first off. Girl is booking it. She does not want to be on this boat anymore.
Philomena, please help me off the skiff here. I want to make sure that there's nothing of danger in the immediate area.
Right. She'll help him up and keep an eye out.
I will go with y'all, since I can see farther into the dark.
I have an ability to make light. I'm still holding this wand. I'll put light on this wand that I'm holding and use that as a item to see by.
This magical light begins to emanate from this wand that you hold, Portis, and you can see as you hold it up, these rickety planks go up kind of in a zigzag pattern up to a secondary platform that's maybe 10 feet above the landing itself. And you look back and you can see the crew beginning to pull off their personal effects. They each have like a burlap sack basically with whatever they carry with them in it. And they kind of throw it over their shoulders and everything seems stowed. The horses are a little skittish, but they thought ahead and they have some hay and things like that for the horses. So Drothak grabs a bale of that and kind of throws it over his other shoulder and starts walking up. He kind of pushes past you. And one of them has a lantern as well as they walk up these rickety, slippery wooden planks. And he just kind of looks back and says, "Well, come on up. This is where we're staying tonight. It'll be fine. Don't you worry nothing. Like I said, I'm going to get you back to Crockport. That's me job."
I lean into Philomena and say, "He has a strange way of using his words. He uses lash a lot."
Yes, I thought he meant like physical lashings.
It did generate an image in my head, and I didn't appreciate
I'm
it.
quite fearful. I will not lie to you.
It is the way he just said, "We're going to get you." Pause. And then finish the sentence. Yes.
Yeah, there's something in there, right? You hear it too. Okay, I feel less crazy. Thank you.
You're not crazy. Shall we?
Please.
Up the stairs we'll go.
I will, like one arm linked with his, help him up the stairs.
You hear Voren,
with the horses.
Okay. You hear Voren as Philomena, as you say, or I think it was Brother Porter say, "You're not crazy." You hear Voren, one of the hobgoblins, who's just kind of standing behind you, waiting for you to go up. He's like,
"Oh no!
If you ain't crazy yet, you might be by the end of this journey. Stick close."
Just stop it. It's not kind to frighten the young woman.
Better to know what lies ahead than to walk into the darkness with your eyes closed.
Grukka's staying back with Mel and the horses too, and Grukka's just chuckling at what the hobgoblin is saying.
Yeah, you get a sense that they're sort of messing with Philomena a little bit. But that's just Hobgoblin humor.
Yeah, Grukka's actually kind of almost feels like he's in a little comfort zone with more of his his kind, and even the bugbear to a certain extent. He feels more like he could be himself, around them, as opposed to kind of putting on a show, with Mel and Portis and Philomena, trying to be like, just more normal, I guess, or how they would think normal would be. But anyways, yeah, he's down there with Mel and the horses and Anvil. Are we going to take the horses off, or are they going to stay on the skiff? I guess they come off, right?
Oh yeah, though I don't think the horses want to stay on there either.
No. He's gonna go grab Anvil, probably kick a few those crabs if they've crawled onto the skiff. If he sees any of them, he's gonna kind of kick them away. grab his baby and go into his pocket, one of his little pouches, and pull out probably it's getting old, an apple, and kind of gives it to Anvil as they're walking to wherever the horses are gonna be kept.
And Mel has Dottie and Phalar in each hand and just walks them off.
Thank you.
Leading them up
you're welcome.
leading them up these zigzagging planks is not easy. It takes some precision, and the horses are a bit skittish. Go ahead and give me some animal handling checks, please.
Oh god.
I got a 15.
15, okay.
Never mind.
And Grukka?
Grukka. Okay, Grukka's pretty good. Grukka doesn't get any bonuses, but I rolled a 16.
Okay, yeah, those are good rolls. Like I said, it's uncomfortable for the horses as they're following you up, and you got to kind of pull them a little bit to get them going at the bottom as they step onto the first plank, and they kind of like their hooves sort of scrape against it, and then you give them a little bit of a encouragement, with the apple or whatever it is, and they follow you up these zigzagging planks up to the top. And as you get up on the top, you see this broad, flat platform of rock that looks as though it is some sort of a natural high water mark, maybe, when whatever formed these canals had begun. It created this almost perfect camping spot that's up high enough from the water's edge. The only time that you see the slime crabs is when the darkness begins to set in, and so the lantern is continuously burning, and Drothak has it at full. The hood is completely open so that it shines as much light as possible, and they keep that going to the best of their ability, even though they have the ability to see in dim light fairly well. The rest of you follow up, and it's like an open cut, and it's right along the edge, so you can see down to the water if you hold a light source, whether it be Portis's staff or a torch or something of that nature. The lantern, you can see down below. The skiff is moored against this rickety dock. The water is just kind of flowing past. It's not raging. It's not like a rapids situation, but you can just tell. You can see that it's moving. Every once in a while, if you were to stand there and watch, you'd maybe see a faint light glowing in the water as one of those lightning eels swims past.
The boat looks very secured to the...
Yeah, extremely secured.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It is lashed with multiple ropes.
Yeah, Grukka would probably he probably sees knows what Philomena is thinking. Maybe he kind of sees that she's looking down.
She's peeking over.
And Grukka kind of looks over at Philomena, kind of stands next to her, and just kind of quietly says, "I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think our captain and our 4 oarsmen want to get stuck here any more than we do."
That's fair. It's just if we lose our mode of transportation and the things we have to sell, it wouldn't be very good.
And don't worry, if you wake up crazy, it's okay. And he kind of snorts and chuckles and kind of walks back to where everybody else is.
So while Mel and Grukka are having this conversation, and Philomena and Grukka are having this conversation, Mel is tending to the horses and yells over to the captain, "How long are we planning on taking a rest here? We have to get back to Crockport as soon as we possibly can."
We'll rest here till me boys are ready to go on. Couple hours max. Don't you worry, miss. It's more important that we navigate the rest of this route well rested than to press on and get into some terrible situation. There be worse things in these caverns than slime crabs and lightning eels.
Can you just like list it? You just list what the worst things are so that we can maybe be prepared for if they happen.
I thought you said you wanted to leave here in a decent amount of time, but certainly I can tell you many a story. And he sits down around a little fire that's been built, and he starts to talk about some experiences that he's had on the river underneath this smuggling route. And he talks about some crew members that he's lost along the way. There are large squid-like creatures that have been known to pull boats down straight off of the surface of the water. He has found many a wrecked ship or parts of ships floating or submerged in or lodged into some of the rocks along the way. And the madness. He continues to sort of hammer home the fact that people go crazy in these caverns if you're not careful. You can't tell if any of these stories are true or not, but he's a storyteller for sure. And his hobgoblin crew tend to chuckle and make kind of side comments as he tells these stories to you around the campfire. And this kind of goes on for a number of hours. They bring out some foodstuffs that they have. There are some breads and some dried meats and some things from the Lake Erston hideout that they have available that they just kind of put out for people to eat. So there's food for everyone to partake in. You're able to get your rest in if you'd like to take a rest. You can see that while the meal is being prepared, Vuren, one of the hobgoblins, he disappears into the darkness for a little while, walking sort of off towards the water's edge, and you can see that there's a bit of a pathway that sort of wraps around this rocky area. And when he comes back, you look and see that he has a small bundle of bioluminescent fungi in his hands, and he sits down and he takes out this massive dagger and he starts chopping the mushrooms into small bits. He sets a kettle of water over the fire, and as it starts to boil, he throws the chunks of mushrooms into the pot.
Making some tea?
He just kind of nods as he stirs it with his dagger as it's kind of bubbling in this kettle.
How clean does that dagger look?
Give me a quick perception check.
Oh, God.
So, Mel is going to find like a solid rock wall and go and sit back and kind of go into like her trance for a couple of hours.
11?
Okay. To take her rest, you're saying?
Yeah, meditate
Yeah.
basically. Mm-hmm.
Okay, got you.
Oh yeah, the elves get to.
With an 11, I would say you. It's hard to say how dirty the dagger. I mean, you can guess it's probably not. It's not like food safe sort of situation.
I'll prestidigitate it. Clean it off a little bit.
He's sort of like stirring this brothy, almost like a thick, viscous stew now. And as he pulls the blade out, it sort of like drips with this bioluminescence, and you kind of cast your spell and it just sort of like wipes it clean. And he's like, it's already taken effect. I ain't even had any yet. He goes and he keeps stirring it.
I do think at some point during the festivities of the talking, Philomena would wander away a little bit. I think to anyone that might notice, her fists are kind of clenched. She seems a bit hunched as she goes.
Captain takes notice as you walk by, but doesn't interrupt whatever's on your mind. He just kind of pays attention to where everybody is. You can tell he's keeping an eye out for where everybody's going.
I note as well that she has wandered off and seems to be a bit distressed. However, I don't follow. I don't intend to bother her.
Yeah, Grukka's just going to sit closer to the fire. He's going to go through his stuff, kind of like, you know, basically, it's like one of those things to do because they left in such a hurry. He wanted to make sure nothing got left behind. He's kind of inventorying what he's got, which isn't a whole lot anyways, but something to do. He's getting a little warm, just keep, and again, keeping an eye on, everybody. He notices Philomena walking away and kind of, he thinks to himself that, she'll work herself out. And, that's about it. I mean, he's just going to be sitting there. He's going to wait till everything dies down, and then he's eventually going to go over to where Portis is. And if no one's paying attention, he's going to kind of say to him in a low voice and say, everything has died down now. The excitement is over of the, uneventual, the attack that we had on us. But my brain keeps going back to when we had dinner, something I overheard. I'm a little concerned. I'm in this for the money for the most part, and I heard that something is not in the shipment that was expected to be there. I'm a little worried that we may not get paid if that is what our client is really looking for.
Well, what did you hear? Which
I heard something about a sphere or something that was not to
sphere?
me.
Yes, indeed.
And you heard that too, right?
I did hear it, and I don't recall seeing it either. And I don't know where it is.
I didn't have the pleasure of going through what we acquired, so this is all new to me. I just hope that it doesn't affect getting paid.
It is possible. I actually don't have an answer for you. I know that there are materials present that are highly sought after, that we must deliver, and they will be delivered, but I don't know the nature of this sphere or the value.
I just wanted to, put that thought into you, I'm not worried. The only thing I have to worry about is the only thing worse than an angry hobgoblin is an unpaid angry hobgoblin.
I assure you I don't have the sphere.
Oh, I'm not saying you have it. You were in my view the whole time. You were on top. But, how well do you know Philomena?
Not at all. Philomena is an enigma, as far as I'm concerned.
And
Do you think she has it?
I don't know. I just, every so often, I start to think about things that I shouldn't think about. But either way, let's just make sure we get through this chasm and tunnel alive.
Dave, I'm going to look around and see if Philomena left her stuff behind.
It doesn't seem like it to you, best you can tell. Yeah.
Grukka, I'll do some poking around and see if I can find anything out.
Yeah, just don't give yourself away.
Oh, no. If there's one thing that I prefer not to do, it's to give myself away.
Ah, yes. There is also the possibility that this particular item wasn't even in the shipment. And don't forget, 2 people did get away. I'm a little angry with myself about that one.
It's unfortunate. Yes, that was brought up to me as well. But, chips where they fall and whatnot.
Chips. I go back to get more food.
Can Mel in her meditation kind of hear their conversation?
Yeah, I think based on the size of this area, I think that it would be conceivable that you, as you are also sort of blending in a little bit to the wall and kind of silent and motionless, they might not even really notice that you're nearby. But yes, you would have heard the whispering between the two of them.
Yeah, we're sitting on left and right of her talking through her
She can't hear us. She's in meditation.
So I guess she'll hear Portis get up, and she, gets out her dagger, and she says in a loud voice, "You come near my stuff, you die."
I look around and see if I can see Melantha anywhere. Just figuring out where that voice came from. And Melantha, I assure you, I have no desire to approach any aspect of your person that would cause me to fall further from your graces.
Smart move.
Smart is how one stays alive.
Not all the time.
Well, let me just ask you, do you have the sphere?
Why would I need the sphere?
I don't know. I don't know what the sphere is. I don't know why it's missing. I don't know why it's been brought up now and several times. Are you not concerned that it's missing from the shipment?
Look, the most important, most valuable thing to me is information. I could care less about any other item with monetary value.
Ah, but you're assuming it's only a monetary value item, that it has nothing to do with something beyond material value.
Well, is the sphere basically what we're not going to be getting paid for?
I don't actually know. I can tell you, you know that I'm in possession of certain information myself that will assuredly be part of the value of the shipment being returned, but I can't help but assume that the sphere will as well.
Well, I don't have it, and I could care less.
Perfect. Let's just leave it like that.
Grukka's like, they got dried fruit.
Process of elimination here.
Well, there were no insight checks, so we could be lying.
Ooh.
Quite possible.
Yeah, I just try not to cross Melantha in any capacity.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm
Smart.
just,
That's
I'm
very
like,
smart.
Grukka's got like food in his hand. He's kind of like pointing over to Mel. He's like, you scare the shit out of me.
That's saying a
That's
lot.
how I want it to come off. I'm doing the right thing. You should be scared.
So Portis, with this information now, is there anything else that you would like to do as you're sort of contemplating the fate of this sphere?
You know, I am. I'm going to cast Pass Without a Trace on myself, and I'm going to try to find Philiomena.
Okay. And you're going to be sneaky about it sounds like. So give me a stealth check, please, and add +10 to it as you are utilizing your magics.
And because of my choice of armor, I have
no.
disadvantage, so...
Okay, you still get the +10. Now, Philomena, let me ask you a question. Are you hiding, or are you just? What are you doing? Let's kind of move over to you for a minute and hear what's going
Not
on.
hiding. I think she saw where what was his name? I have it written down here. Vorum?
Foreign, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wandered off to, and I think she kind of wanders down the same spot and tries to look. She's trying to find like just a quieter area away, an area that's just a bit further away.
Sure.
And she's just sitting, and she, in her hand, has the ranger crest, the badge that she took off of the guy's shirt. Has her bag next to her, and is just like sitting with her knees up, her hands resting on her knees, and just staring at it quietly.
Okay. You are generally in the darkness. There's probably a little bit of illumination from some of that fungus, but you are far enough away and sort of around, because if you were following the path that Vorin took, you're now sort of like out of the benefit of the firelight that's burning in the campfire, which is fine, but you just don't have.
Fine.
I'm sure it'll be just great.
I'm sure nothing bad will happen to me.
Yep. Portis, what did you get for your stealth roll?
I wrote the same thing twice. My total is 26.
Oh yeah. Philomena does not hear you coming.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even if I roll a nat 20, I don't think I make it to hear that.
No, and you're not actively like trying to perceive that anyways, so we're using your passive perception, and it's definitely lower than that. So yeah, Portis, you sort of are skulking out of the light of the fire at the edge and around this narrow path, and you can see on the left is the cavern wall as it sort of swoops up to the ceiling, maybe 20 feet above you. You can just barely make it out as it's starting to disappear into the darkness. And off to the right, as you're making your way around along this path that's maybe 5 feet wide, is just a sheer drop of 10 to 15, maybe 20 feet down to the water. And you just kind of make your way around, and you can see just in the faint glow of some bioluminescent fungi that there is a figure sitting against the wall.
I'm going to get close enough and to a vantage point that I can just observe for a while, specifically to see if who I assume is Philomena brings out that sphere. And I'm just going to observe. And I'm also keeping a watchful, protective eye in case something comes out and starts to stalk her more maliciously.
Sure. You do. I'm assuming, and maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to ask, do you have your wand that has been cast with the light spell on it, or did you leave that behind?
I just, let's see, it lasts an hour. I stowed it if it's still...
It's probably still a little bit glowing, but yeah, we're probably getting close to the end of that. Yeah.
I will stash it so it's blocked.
Okay. So yeah, back to Philomena. You mentioned that you're sort of staring at the badge that you picked up off of the slain Calistran Ranger back at the lodge.
I think what Portis observes for a while is just her kind of sitting in a contemplative silence before she just kind of starts murmuring to herself. Mama, I don't know what I'm doing. I know that those people are criminals. I am too. But did they deserve that? Did either side deserve that? I remember when we were taking that trip down south and Calistran Rangers helped guide us when we were lost and we shared a meal together. I don't even know their names. I don't know nearly half of the names of the people that died. I don't even know their names. Everyone seems to have this connection, this almost family that they found, and I don't want to keep seeing it get rent apart. This is dumb. She's just gonna rub her eyes and sigh.
Portis,
It's not like you can hear me.
give us a quick perception check. Kind of rub a few tears off your cheek, Philomena, as you're having this heartfelt conversation with presumably your mother. What'd you get, Portis?
Got an 8.
Okay, so you pick up bits of it enough to, like, you hear her voice softly, but you don't make out the details of what she's saying. But you have a decent enough passive insight that it's
plaintive.
There's some emotion. Yeah, yep. That's a great way to put it. Yep.
I continue to observe for a while.
Got a fucking job to do, Philomena. Just get it done and it'll be over. And you can just forget all about this. You've got your revenge. It'll all be okay. And I think at that she'll take one last look at the badge, stow it in the bag, and stand up to head back to the group.
I'm going to
Do
stay
I
hidden.
bump into Portis while I'm leaving?
You gonna try to hide, Portis? Go ahead and give us a stealth check again. You've got the benefit of your magic.
Plus 10.
Yep.
Since I'm not moving, would it be at standard roll?
It would be a standard. You would be, yes. You would not roll with disadvantage.
That's 28.
That's far higher than Philomena's passive perception. So yeah, she just kind of walks past you back to the group, back to the campsite, the glow of the fire as you see Philomena, as you return, you can see Vorin is pouring some of this broth, which has sort of the bioluminescent colors of it have faded somewhat. They still glow a little bit, but not as vibrant. And he's pouring them into a couple of tin cups, and he's handing them out to his companions, the other oarsmen, the other hobgoblins.
Are you sure that's not what's making people crazy down here?
Just kind of looks up at you with a brow raised. You interested in finding out?
No, not at all. But I'm interested in watching. Seeing what happens to you all.
His companions each take one of the cups and they sit back down or in their little areas of this campsite, and they just start sipping on this broth, basically.
Is it also glowy, like the broth itself?
It's kind of dulled in color. It's not as if it, like when he was first stirring it with his dagger and he pulled his dagger out, it was like kind of a vibrant, glowing essence to it, but now it's a little bit more muted. There's still some level of color coming off of it, but not like it was. You get the sense that, through the whatever he's making, it had some chemical changes to the fungi itself. But they each take it and drink it down one by one.
Yeah, I think Philomena positions herself not next to Mel, but like a couple feet away with her like back to the wall and just kind of watches. And then she looks around. Where's Portis? I mean, Petunia? Portia?
I think.
What was his name?
Portis. I think Portis had to step off to, relieve himself.
Right.
I think.
Yes. All right. Cool.
I could go into detail.
Don't need to know. Don't need to know anymore. Thank you very much. Grukka.
Grukka just loves getting her all nervous and getting her flustered and everything.
It doesn't take much, at least not in this setting.
Yeah, he's eating it up, and he's looking. Grukka's looking at them drinking this broth and everything, and he's tempted, but he's he kind of says out loud, he's like, "Oh, I would love to have some of that, but I don't know what it would do to me, and I'm still on the job."
I come shuffling back in. Oh, we have to sleep on the ground tonight. What's going on here? Are we staying the night? I don't even know what we're doing.
Drothak kind of gets up and walks over, and he just kicks a bedroll that he threw down on the ground for you. He's like, "This is for you, old man. We'll be here for a couple hours at least, resting up. Boys are gonna get some sleep here in a second. You just watch; they'll be out."
Oh, it's a sleeping potion.
That and maybe a little more.
Well, I just rely on my age to put me to sleep, It's not too difficult.
Indeed.
Thank you for the bedroll.
Get some rest. I'll let you know when we're ready to depart.
Excuse me, dear. Could you do that thing you do when you clean things up?
Absolutely. I will very happily clean up the bedroll for him.
Oh, I almost had you. The cursed bedroll of bedbugs.
Oh,
Damn it.
no.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah, Grukka's Go ahead.
Are we considering this a long rest ultimately, or?
Yes, yeah. You guys will be able to take a long rest as you watch, and the four oarsmen sort of settle themselves in. They look very comfortable as they kind of rest their heads and close their eyes. Drothak does not sleep Or at least it doesn't look like he's sleeping. He's laying there motionless, but his eyes are open.
Grukka's going to basically not be too close to Drothak, but he's just going to use his pack for a pillow, maybe be like 10 or 15 feet away from, the bugbear. Kind of similar of mind. I'm going to probably sleep well after last night, but, he's just going to kind of sit there in between, like, I guess the fire and where the edge goes down, where you can look over. He just wants to be closer. If anything comes from the water, he wants to be there.
Okay. Is he going to sleep at all?
He's going to sleep, but before he does, he's going to lay his great sword next to him. So if he has to, you don't got to pull it out of anything. But yeah, sleep at the ready kind of being. He's used to sleeping outdoors a lot.
Okay. All right. So he's kind of taking a position of rest. How about Portis? Portis, now that your bed bugs are cured, have been dispelled.
At some point in the middle of the night, I do want to go
do
through
something.
Philomena's stuff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's come back to that. Mel, you are doing your meditation in the dark and keeping an eye on your stuff. Is there anything else that you want to do or conversations that you want to have as you're resting here in the chambers of the smuggler's route?
No, but since I'm meditating semi-consciously and I know what Portis and Grukka talked about, I'm staying quiet and I'm gonna see what unfolds in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
All right. Philomena, how about you?
This was the plan before anyone had stated anything, and I want to state that beforehand. Philomena is vastly uncomfortable in the situation that she is in, and would have gone over to Dodie and kind of slept near her because she figured if something were to approach, she would give some sort of warning. And she tries really hard to not fall asleep, but she eventually does because girl is fucking tired. She is wrecked emotionally and physically.
It's been a day.
It's been a day. So she would definitely end up falling asleep, but anyone who's watching sees that she tries.
Okay. All right. So as you drift off to sleep, Mel, keeping sort of a quiet, watchful gaze upon the campsite, the fire burns low, and you watch as Drothak gets up and throws another piece of wood on the fire to stoke it a little bit. Grukka a little bit closer to the water's edge. Portis, describe to us what you are doing and how you are going to take stock of perhaps the belongings that Philomena has in her possession.
First of all, Philomena left, then went down by the boat. Is that where the horses are?
No, the horses are up with you guys,
Horses are up
actually.
with us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so the first thing I do is I cast Pass Without a Trace on myself again.
Okay.
It's my last time before this rest.
I'm not noticing.
The next time I'm going to do, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to Melantha, wherever she is in the dark, and I'm going to say, you have to understand what this is about. I know you're watching me. So I'm just telling you. I'm going to ask you to trust me. How about that? And then I'm going to fade.
Before you fade, she goes, and I'll tell you again, I could care less.
That's true. Did say that.
And you wanting me to trust you is a very tall order, I must say.
Well, we've worked well so far.
Have we?
Well, I've done quite well.
You make it more appealing to put a dagger in your face each and every day.
You don't actually know me, Melantha, but that's a conversation for another time. I have something to do. I'll be back if you want to talk about this in a minute. And I'm going to scuttle off.
Um, I think what you see is Philomena, her head resting on Dodie as she's kind of laid down and settled in as well. Dodie's breath kind of rising and falling, so she goes rhythmically with her. Close to her chest, wrapped like tightly in her hands, is a sickle. And her bag is kind of like nestled within her kind of side.
I'm very carefully going to approach Philomena and try to just get a hand inside the bag and feel around for this object.
Let's do a quick stealth check first, with your bonus to because of the spell, but disadvantage. Are you still wearing the armor? Do you have armor on?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you'll have disadvantage if you're wearing the armor. But that plus 10 is gonna help you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
With disadvantage, it's a 29.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
With
Amazing.
disadvantage, it's 29.
Yeah.
That's passed out a trace, man. That is a powerful spell. Very
It's
powerful
a very
spell.
good spell.
Yeah.
God.
So
I had
you
no
you
chance.
managed to sneak past not only Philomena's conscious observation, but also Dodie, who you just see the rise and fall of Dodie's chest as the two are curled up next to each other,
I'm
sleeping.
blessing the shit out of Cyril. Under my breath.
So now you are going to try to essentially sneak inside of Philomena's belongings. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm trying to identify that object.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a sleight of hand check with advantage.
There's also a couple of things she has in her bag, so I can also describe some of those depending on what happens.
I got a natural 20 for 22
Ooh,
on the second.
Yeah.
hot dog.
This
Nice.
is part of the shit.
Hell yeah, Portus. All right,
Cyril's
so
hearing my
yeah,
prayers.
no, as you sort of open up the pack and kind of reach inside, you look over at Philomena and the horse. Neither of them have any knowledge of your presence. They are oblivious to you at this moment. So as Portus reaches into this bag, what would be something that he might his hand brush upon as he's searching? Primarily, I'm guessing, Portus, for the sphere. Yeah. Okay. There may be some other things that are in there as well.
I think first your hand brushes across some fine feeling fabric. Are you also able to see, or are you just feeling?
I think this is all by feel.
Okay, so you feel some fine fabric of maybe like an extra set of clothes. It feels like something, a type of fabric one might wear in a fancier setting. You feel something solid and a rougher fabric. It's square-ish, and I think you would then feel a kind of smooth surface. Circular, one might describe it as.
Okay. I will, I'll just bring forth the circular object and try to see by any ambient light what it looks like.
Yeah, you withdraw this sphere from the pack ever so gently as to not rouse anybody's consciousness. And it is from the light in this space, the campfire that's giving off the main illumination of this space that you're in. You can see this yellowish crystalline sphere about the size of a skull, maybe slightly smaller, maybe.
Does it put off any energy or?
It sparkles with the little bit of ambient light. It's not, you don't feel any palpable like essence from it. Do you have any way to do a magical investigation of it or anything like that?
No,
Okay.
No, but it's not emanating energy.
It's not emanating an energy at this time.
Okay.
It is, the surface of this thing is flawless. It's not glass, but you can almost, if you had better light, it might be easier to tell, but you can almost kind of see into it a little bit.
Okay, so it's almost like a palantir.
Yeah, something.
It could be,
yeah,
perhaps.
it could be, perhaps. Yeah, that'd be a good analogy. It gives it. It seems like it's probably fragile, but it has some heft to it.
Perhaps made of stone.
Perhaps. Give me an investigation check.
Okay.
Let's do that.
$21.
Okay. The idea of it maybe be, yeah, this is really good. The idea that this might be some sort of a stone isn't that far off, but what you start to realize is that this is probably a shape that was carved from some sort of a crystal. But it is a perfect spherical shape.
Smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Flawless.
Mm-hmm. There's not a scratch on it. There's not a chip. It's kind of sparkles, more so than reflects. Almost like the light is in not just outside shining into it, but it's somehow maybe reacting with the light, ever so slightly.
Fascinating. It's beautiful. I'll put it back. I'll put it back, and I will withdraw back to my sleeping area.
Okay.
And I'll sit down and I'll stretch out. Well, Belinda, if you wish to know, Philomena does have the orb.
Wow, would you look at that?
Did you know?
How would I know?
You don't seem surprised.
We're a gang of outlaws. Nothing is surprising to me
Well,
anymore.
Very well. I think it's important for us all to know, though, that this object is in our possession as a team. Should it come up in our best interest to reveal that fact?
You do what you want. If you feel like it needs to be addressed, you're the one who found it. You address it.
You are a hard nut to crack. You're good at what you do.
Stealing when you're on a job is for the weak. Stealings are the last thing that need to be that are important when you're on a job.
I can't disagree with that. Yeah, anyway. Well, I'm satisfied. I'm going to get some sleep.
Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, Jesus.
Unless I don't.
Oh my God. No, please.
I'm going to cast Self-Explode if she touches me.
Wow. Wow. Everybody's got one eye open. Some of them two eyes. Holy cow.
The one eye is open. As soon as Portis finally lays down and gets in his bed, Grukka's just going to roll over and said, I told you, she scares the shit out of me.
You're not wrong.
Oh my God.
At least your name's not in her book, as far as I know.
Who's to say that Grukka's my real name?
I'd say who's to say Portis is my real name, but it's in her damn books.
Oh my God. All right, so one by one, each of you drifts off to sleep. Aside from our friend Mel here, friend in air quotes, who simply meditates.
That's a strong word.
Yeah, exactly. It's a four-letter word according to Mel. But everybody is in a restful state of mind. The three of you sleeping and Mel sort of just meditating, keep an eye. Unclear if Drothak is sleeping, although every so often, Mel, you feel like you hear a little bit of a snore coming from him. But then he also gets up to throw. His eyes never close when he's laying there. That's why it's difficult to tell. But he'll get up every so often and put another log on the fire to keep the fire going. A little bit of warmth. You can feel a little bit of air shifting through this tunnel system. And each of you that has fallen asleep has all kinds of feelings and thoughts going through your heads as you're trying to fall asleep, eventually drifting off, some of you faster than others. But I would say, Grukka, as you are sleeping you hear voices. Not voices that wake you like from your sleep, but as part of like this dream state that you're in. And you hear this sort of drone of conversation, and then distinctly you hear this voice say, "I know what you did." And then it just goes back to like a room filled with voices that you can't quite make out what the conversations are. And then it just sort of passes in your sleep as you continue to sleep.
Grukka probably, you know, talking in his sleep, Grukka probably would have like made some talking in his sleep, kind of saying like, "I didn't do anything. I didn't," you know, so if anyone was listening, he's talking in his sleep saying, "I didn't do it. I didn't do it." And then he just back.
You know what? Give me a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. It's like +4 at least. Total of 18.
Okay. You, as you're saying this in your sleep, and you sort of like wake up for a second, and you can see that it appears as though Drothak has just thrown a log on the fire because the fire is sort of at a high stage. And you're like, you realize that you had been hearing something in your sleep, right? You've been hearing these voices in your dream or whatever. And as you're sort of turn over and try to go back to sleep, you hear that voice again, but it's from across the cavern in the darkness. And it just says, "I know what you did." And then it goes silent.
You know, I can react if you want to go to somebody else, you know, before. If I heard something that I know was not in my head, Grukka would probably have stood up and grabbed his sword and kind of be just literally using his vision and looking for the source of it. He probably would uncontrollably probably walk towards where he thought he heard it.
Yeah, you walk, you grab your sword, Mel, you see this happening. You catch motion and you look over and you see Grukka getting up. Everybody else fast asleep, and Grukka, you walk over to like the edge of the water with your sword sort of hanging by your side. And you're just staring off into the darkness. Mel, you're just seeing your companion staring into the darkness.
Did Mel hear that voice?
Mel did not hear that voice.
Okay. So she sees Grukka stand and get up and draw his weapon. She knows that he has dark vision as well. She asks, "Do you see anything?"
Grukka, give me a perception check.
Perception. Okay. 17.
This is fun.
As you look out, that log having just been put on, the high flames giving off the light, you can see to some extent in the darkness with your dark vision. You see on the opposite side of this cavern, just for a moment, what appears to be the light of a torch. Very small and faint, and it lights up a landing that's on the other side of this chasm, and just goes away. The light just disappears, almost as if somebody walked by a window with like a torch in their hand, kind of thing.
As soon as Grukka sees the light go out, he's just probably gonna go back to where he was sleeping, grab the bag, his bag he was using for a pillow, and gonna kind of go over to where Mel is against the wall, kind of throw his bag into the, you know, corner of the wall and just sit down next to her, put his hands down and just say, "I don't like this place. There was a light across the way and it just went out. I don't know if I'm imagining it or not, but as much as I hate to say it, I'm safe next to you."
That's all you saw was a light?
There was a light and it went out. It's almost like a torch light. It's
No
another landing across the way.
No person or anything carrying that?
I couldn't see anything.
And Mel, to be clear, you did not see that. That was something that you wouldn't have been able to see from where you were. But Grukka seems somewhat shaken. Is that fair to say, Grukka? A little. Yeah. Right.
Between the voices in his head and what he heard and what he saw, I'm really like, Grukka's not scared, but Grukka's really like nail biting.
Okay.
And Mel basically says to him, "Don't let it get to you."
As the two of you are sitting there, sorry, go ahead, finish what you're gonna do.
I feel like this cave just makes everybody crazy. You don't pay attention to it, You have no effects.
Grukka just kind of tries to close his eyes, you know. He's going to say, if we're going to die, well, we're going to die. And just kind of goes back to sleep.
So as the two of you sit there, with this having happened, we'll go over to Philiomena, who is in an exhausted, restful state, oblivious to everything that's been going on for the last hour or so, including the prying eyes and the stealthy hands of a companion of hers digging through her belongings. But Philiomena, you have like this, you have sort of a dream, right? As you've got all these things on your mind with what happened and the this continued sort of burden that you seem to be carrying with your role in what happened with the heist. You helped put the job together. You helped to put the pieces in play. You gathered the initial information that led to good men being killed. Maybe good men. It's unclear, but did they deserve to die? You know, those types of questions that you were asking while you were sitting by yourself continue to sort of replay in your subconscious while you're sleeping. And you had this dream of this rainy day. The rain is falling in Crockport, and you're helping your elderly mother across the street with bags from the market that you just picked up supplies from the market, like groceries and sundries and such. And your mother kind of slips and one of the bags falls to the ground, and you watch as this man comes up. He has a long trench coat and a big wide-brimmed hat with the water of the rain just kind of dripping off the hat and running down this sort of like this sort of seal skin, almost like cloak that he wears. And he reaches down and he picks up the bag that had been dropped and hoists it into his arms. And he reaches down with a gentle hand and like helps to pull your mother sort of back to her feet and steadies her. And he just kind of looks down at you and he just smiles. And he's got a gold tooth in his mouth. And you also notice that he has got a badge of the Callinston Rangers. And he just smiles at you and he says, "Mighty fine day, ain't it?" And he just kind of grins as he helps you across and before you can even turn to respond to him, you watch as this blade of a knife comes through his chest as if someone stabbed him in the back. And he just kind of drops to the ground looking at you with this gold-toothed smile, and then just sort of slumps forward. The bag of sundries and goods sort of like scattering into the muddy road. And then everything goes dark with your dream as you're carrying this burden into your sort of restful moments. And finally, we'll go to Portis. Portis, give me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Oh no.
See you, Rob. Thanks for hanging out. Oh no, you're sticking around.
15.
15. Okay. As you drift off to sleep, you seem quite happy with yourself. You've gathered a lot of information. You've been sneaky about it. You've gone undetected. Although there's still someone who wants you dead. At least one. And they're close. She happens to be sitting over there with Grukka. But nevertheless, you drift off into sleep, convincing yourself, at least for the moment, that you're more useful alive to Mel than dead. As you're laying there, you sort of wake up in this sort of liminal space, and you see this dark figure standing above you by your feet, completely obscured in shadow as the fire of the campfire is burning behind them. They're just sort of silhouetted. And in this strange sort of jerky movement, they're now on top of you, almost like a spider crawling up your legs. You are paralyzed, unable to move as you look and you see this disgusting old pock-marked, warty-nosed hag that climbs her way up your chest. You can feel like the air being pressed out of your lungs as if to purge you of life. Her tongue comes out of her mouth, forked, as she kind of hisses. Again, you can't move, but she reaches into your belongings, pulls something from them, holds it up, and you can see that they have the scroll case in their hand. And they just sniff it. And their tongue kind of, like brushes against it as if they're tasting it. And then she looks back at you and says, "We've been watching you with much interest. You have it. You have the key." She reaches up with one hand and puts her hand into your mouth. You can just taste the filth and the dirt and the acidity of this rough skin. And you can't say a thing. She withdraws her hand from your mouth, and there's just this long, sticky goo that sort of like snaps back and drops onto your chin. And then she just leans down, and her eyes are right above yours. She says, "Dear friend." And the last thing you remember before you wake up is her lips touching yours. And you wake up, Portis, and you instinctively reach for your things, and you look down, and you can see that the scroll case is laying exposed, as if half in and half out of your bag. And that's where we'll go ahead and take a break. As we have,
Oh my God.
That was a visceral.
Yeah, that was the old hag, as they say.
He's gonna wake up and go, "Hey, Philomena, can you participate on my lips, please?"
Yeah, in my mouth. I need to brush my teeth.
I know, I'm like,
Have any mouthwash?
Gross.
All right, my friends, that was disgusting.
gosh.
That was disgusting, but it was fun. Hey, we'll be back in just a couple of
I'm
minutes.
glad I
Everybody
didn't
hang
get that.
loose. Yeah, you didn't? Not yet. Not yet. We'll be back in a little bit, you guys. We're going to take 5 minutes and refill our drinks, stretch our legs, hang out.
brush our
Oh,
teeth.
yeah.
We'll see you in
I
a couple
got
minutes.
stand.
Thank you.
The year is 1987. The town of Pinehurst, New England.
we're gonna dive back into this here adventure as we have just sort of gone through a harrowing escape from the battle that raged at the hunting camp on the shores of Lake Erston, and we found ourselves escaping on a small vessel down into the subterranean canals that connect Lake Erston to the port city of Crockport, an old smuggling route that's not even on Anna Meyer's maps. It's so secret.
Get on that, Anna.
That's real secret. But yeah, so we have found ourselves traveling for the better part of a day, taking a rest on this little landing that has obviously been a smuggler's waypoint or wayside rest for decades, if not longer. You are under the expert care of a bugbear named Drothak and his 4 hobgoblin oarsmen, who have up to this point kept you safe and have kept you on the right track, although they during their sleep had taken of some elixirs, we shall say, made from the mushrooms that grow within these caverns, and are gathering themselves together as we join back into this session. We're going to start, and we're going to go back to Brother Portis, who has just awoken from a rather disturbing dream, or was it a dream of a visitor, a particular visitor that he may or may not have knowledge of. Would Portis have a knowledge of who visited him in the night?
I wonder
as well. Would you like to roll a die to see?
I very much would.
Let's go ahead and roll a religion check, and I will have you roll it with advantage.
Sweet. Okay. Well, 13.
Okay, 13. Not great, but you do, as you reflect, the first thing you notice as you wake up is that you feel somewhat violated, right? Whatever this vision was, or this experience that you had, this, for lack of a better term, this person was inside you, literally and figuratively. Their visage of an old hag, the forked tongue searching for the scent or the taste of whatever lay heavy on this scroll case that you had recovered from the stagecoach heist. Their suggestion that they had been watching you with great interest and that you had shown promise, and that they had sort of examined the scroll case with their eyes and their tongue. They had said something about an old friend. With the role that you have, the forked tongue, the visage of the old hag, you interpret this as a visit from none other than Cyril themselves.
Okay.
The
makes me a little happier.
The night hag, the oath breaker. You do wake with a strange taste in your mouth, and as I mentioned, the scroll case lays exposed by your side. Go ahead.
I'm gonna snatch up the scroll case first of all, because it was not in my pack. It was in my faux paunch. It was literally on my body. I grab it up and I stash it away so that nobody sees that I have it, and I scuttle off to a corner. I'm going to go back where Philiomena had wandered off around the bend.
Okay.
And I'm going to, with my back to the camp, I'm going to open the scroll case and look inside.
You break the seal?
Oh, damn. Yes.
Okay. You break the seal. The seal, again, if folks remember, is a wax imprint of a long-necked and long-legged bird. Interpret that how you might. As you crack that seal and open the scroll case, you look inside this tube and you can see that there's a single piece of parchment.
I'm going to remove it. I'm going to look for a title.
You pull the parchment out of the scroll case and you unfurl it.
Yeah.
It
just
has
enough to see if there's a header.
There's no header. Do you continue to unfurl, or do you?
Yeah, I'm committed now.
Yes, you are. There's a discomfort in your mouth right now, by the way. As you unfurl,
Discomfort on my everything.
yeah. As you unroll this scroll, you see that it bears but a single sentence. What languages do you read, Portis?
I read Common, Dwarvish, Elvish, and Infernal.
Okay. So I believe Infernal is like the written script of Abyssal. The two are connected in some sense. You can read this, and you're not 100% sure that you're reading it correctly, but the best interpretation that you can glean from it, it almost seems as if it is poetry. It says, "Where the seabirds nest and the tides are kept, seek the stones that stand while silence slept." And that is all that is on the scroll.
I'm going to commit that to memory as best I can. I'm going to return the parchment to the scroll case, and I'm going to make my best forgery attempt to replace the seal.
Okay. Do you have any anything that can help you with this?
Let's see. No, I actually don't.
You don't have
Yes,
mending or something of that nature? That'd be too convenient.
Wouldn't it?
While he's doing this, are the others awake or?
Yeah, everybody else is sort of awake. And as he got up to sort of like go do whatever he was doing, you're all sort of like gathering your things. You can see Drothak is getting his goods back onto the skiff. You know, the crew is getting ready to depart. Basically, it's sort of like you're breaking camp.
Who am I closest to?
Grukka.
So I lean over to Grukka and I say, Portis left, or should I say scurried off in a very un-Portis-like manner. What do you?
Well, you know, he's an old man. He probably had to go pee like 2 hours before he woke up.
There's something very suspicious about how he exited.
Yeah, he's, you know, he probably he probably went to, who knows? He's poor. He really can't go far anyways, you know, just. And I'm just gonna kind of get up, grab my bag. I'm gonna walk out to where I was last night when I was looking across where I saw that torch, or what I thought was a torchlight, and I'm gonna try to see if I can look over to where I was looking before, and if anything sticks out or.
Sure. Give me another perception check. While this is happening, and we're going to come back to you in a minute, Portis, what is Philiomena doing?
I think she gathered her things, didn't notice that anything's out of the ordinary, because why would she? And I think she sees Portis kind of run off and gets the feeling of how she would have really loved someone to have come and talked to her last night, and maybe he's going through something similar. And so I think she tries to kind of quietly go after, not in like a stealthy way, but in a not trying to impose way.
You're going to try to, sorry, say it one more time.
I'm going after Portis.
Portis, okay.
Yeah.
But not using stealth, just kind of following.
No.
Yeah, okay. All right. So let's jump back to Portis. Portis, you roll the parchment back up and you slide it back into the scroll case. You put the cap back on, and how are you going to, what's the best attempt you can make here to reseal it?
At the moment, I cannot do much, but I can pray for mending as a cantrip. So I will pray to Cyril for that cantrip for use before I get to blood.
You know
vein.
what?
Yeah.
You know what? Because of what just happened, I am going to give you an opportunity for that to happen right now if you decide that now is when you want to pray for it.
That sounds great to me.
I would like to just hear a snippet of what Portis might be saying.
Oh my gosh.
My tongue, it feels really weird right now, and I feel like if I had to articulate to anyone, that would be very awkward. It's numb. It feels like it's sort of twisting and moving on its own. So I'm going to pray silently, and I'm just going to say, Cyril, mistress of deceit, I have received your message and am grateful for your guidance and for your approval. And I ask you now, if at all possible, to bless me with a mending spell that I might restore this seal and still deliver this under the guise of fulfilling my obligation and not exposing you to any shame or exposure of any sort. Mistress, I pray this.
Okay. In this instance, because of what just transpired in that strange dreamscape that you found yourself paralyzed in, your tongue twisting in your mouth as you pray, give me a percentile roll. There's a 10% chance that you will be granted this boon in this moment. So roll
Is
10
it
or
the high
lower.
10 or the low 10?
Roll a 10 or lower on the percentile.
All right.
Come
go.
on.
Oh, no. 58.
Oh,
Nothing
close.
happens.
Grukka doesn't know numbers.
I will still prepare as part of my rituals to obtain this at some point prior to delivering the scroll to Bloodbane.
Okay. All
As I
right.
switch over, but it won't be today, obviously.
So as this prayer is happening, and Philomena, you kind of come around the corner of this rocky ledge, and you can see almost a look of sort of maybe a little disappointment on Portis's face. And Portis, she's not sneaking, so you hear and feel someone behind you walking up at that same moment.
I stuff the scroll back into my costume and turn around. Hello. Oh, Philomena.
are you all right?
I
I know you're a man of your secrets. I'd understand if that extends to possible emotions you're feeling. It's been a really long couple of days. Just putting that out there that there's no judgment. Are you okay?
I'm having a bit of a morning.
Are you having an allergic reaction to something? And she'll like come up and she's like,
I'm not sure. Does my tongue, pardon me if this is odd, but does my tongue look okay to you? It's feeling, it has a mind of its own. I had a most interesting dream.
Philomena, as Portis opens his mouth asking you of the status of his tongue, you've never really examined Portis's tongue before, I'm thinking. So this might be the first time you've taken a close look at it. But without a doubt, his tongue is forked.
what the fuck did you do to your tongue?
What?
What the fuck did you do to? Wait, okay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I don't.
Your tongue is forked? You did that to yourself?
Well, I can't explain. But I'll try. A moment.
Okay. All right.
I try to see my tongue.
Is it scarred at all? Does it look like it's a recent thing? Did I
No, it
just
looks
somehow
like-
not notice?
Yeah, it looks like it's just a tongue, but just happens to
It's
be a
just a tongue.
forked. Yeah.
I
like
don't
a
know how I
serpent's
didn't
tongue.
notice this before.
Can I confide in you something?
Please?
I may be involved with a goddess of misinformation, and
Okay.
I'm trying to see my tongue as I speak. I can't see it. Forked tongues are sort of a badge of honor, I suppose. I think it has something to do with my dream. I'm feeling very awkward right now. Don't think I'm explaining this very well.
Okay, I'm trying to get this connected. So you haven't had a forked tongue.
Not
This
right now.
goddess that you worship,
Yes.
possibly
may
did.
not be pro-can. Definitely not.
It's not Procan. We don't have to lie about that. That's fine. Secret safe with me. It's whatever. Trust me, I'm into some weird shit too.
I think
So
I had a
you're-
visitation. Actually, I do think it was a visitation, a literal visitation.
From your goddess?
I'm pretty goddamn sure.
And this is okay. This is good.
I honestly, yes, of course it is. Sarah be
Okay.
praised. It's wonderful. But it had an unexpected consequence or two.
All right.
I'm having
okay.
a bit of a moment this morning, actually, if
Yeah,
I might
that's
be honest.
okay.
I don't typically
you
feel this
need-
way. I'm a little emotional.
I think at that she's gonna just pull him into a hug and just kind of tap the back of his head a little
Thank you.
bit. I'm honestly really glad that I came over here because I was having a bit of a moment last night too, and I'm really glad that I am connected to someone like this on this level. I am. Congratulations. And also, I'm so sorry. And we'll figure this out.
Philomena, I have not understood you very well, I have to say, but I have found myself sort of feeling protective of you, because I know that what's been going on is a bit overwhelming, and I haven't had the exact perspective that this is sort of the thing that you're used to. I know that it's been difficult. No. I overheard you last night when you stepped away. I know you're struggling with something. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry to reveal it in this way, that I had... I'm just in such a bad place right now. I don't understand what is going on this morning. I've lost a bit of my perspective. But if there's a way that perhaps we can help each other understand what's happening here. It seems that we're in a similar sort of difficulty.
Can I insight to see if he's being genuine with this?
Absolutely, you can.
Now, my insight is not a lot, and I know your deception, if it is deception, is so much better. But
Ty, I would say before you say anything, you can roll a persuasion check or a deception check, whichever you prefer. Do not tell us which one you're rolling.
Let me ask you, do I have to roll either?
You don't have to if you don't want to.
I'll make a roll. Just
Like if you're not trying to persuade or deceive, then and you're just being sincere, you could leave it at that.
depending on what Philomena is trying to find out, I'm pretty sincere in the moment. I'm just not saying everything. What
was
I
your
got a
roll?
nat 20.
Oh shit. Yeah, he's
which makes
definitely
it a 21.
he's holding things back, but that's not unexpected for Portis. As much as
Yeah.
you've grown to know him, he is not one to divulge all of the story, or even a fraction sometimes. But you do get a sense that he is making himself, Ty, would this be an appropriate description, somewhat vulnerable in this particular moment with this emotion that he's sharing.
Exactly.
We're in this together. Absolutely. I don't know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing. I don't know anything else but that.
I'm aware that there is an aspect of revenge. May I ask about that? If not, it's certainly I understand.
I'm sure you've picked up that me and the Merchants Guild have some business with each other. Specifically, the governess, Irana. And like she like spits out the name. It does not rest well on her tongue. I
This is a
was
lofty
betrayed
mark.
by her. And in that betrayal, my mother died. Because of her. Because of her actions.
Scoundrels, all of them. Those merchants are greedy and untrustworthy at times.
She took everything from me. I cannot be myself in towns. There is no Philiomena Loreil unless it is tied to a criminal organization. Everything I built up over these years was torn down the minute she said that I was no good.
My dear, we are two sides of the same coin. I cannot be myself either. I choose not to be. It has served me very well. Perhaps there is an avenue for you to rebuild yourself in that way.
I've got an alias. There's someone else that I take the discernment of. Bonnie Heart.
Ah, a persona.
Yeah. Human. Normal. But, yeah.
I can't say that I actually know what normal is.
Yes, that makes sense. If we're asking questions, how did you get involved in that? I guess all of this. Like, was this something you were born into? Is this something that you chose for yourself?
I was essentially raised into it. I don't have a recollection of family life the way that many people speak of it. It's been in the service. It's been a give and take, if you will. Something of a servitude with rewards. And my goddess has blessed me very well over my lifetime.
And do you like it? What you do?
I don't know anything else. Do I like it? Yes. Yes, I do. I'll admit it. I appreciate having the advantage over other people.
Who doesn't?
Fair enough.
It's better than being under the boot.
That. And that is what you're struggling with right now.
To a degree, yeah.
Well, if I can be of any help, don't hesitate to ask.
Same here. I know I haven't. I can say pretty things. I can look real pretty. I can talk my way into and out of situations. I think I'm capable of more than that, too. So if you need anything, you let me know.
How well do you know Melantha?
I met her because of her book. Not that I'm in it. She wanted names to be in it. I was actually going to have a conversation with her about it later. I was wondering how many of those names she's gotten crossed off. She seems very fascinated with the new name in her book, and I'm just a little curious what she's planning to do about that. If that's like a priority thing, or if like the names that came before that is what she's more focused on. But other than that, really, not much. Same
Well-
with Grukka. I don't know much about him either.
Grukka is fine. The reason why I ask is perhaps if you could put in a good word for me, right?
You think my word has any stand-in with Mel?
Mine certainly does not.
Look, if I get to her good side and I feel that there's an entryway there, sure. I will do
appreciate
that
that.
for you. I don't think it's going to make a lick of a difference.
Well, you never know. Perhaps there was some. I don't even know why I'm in her book.
I was about to ask. Here's what I'm wondering. Do the names in her book have any connection to whatever it is she's trying to solve? Like, I don't... Have we been able to... I only know the names that I've given her. I don't know how many other names are in that book. I don't know how many she's crossed off. Is this just a list of people that she believes has done her wrong, or that she knows has done her wrong?
It's something to do with her brother. I can't place in my recollection who that might be. I don't even believe that was her book originally. I think she mentioned something about belonging to her brother. So I actually don't have much more insight than you do, other than that's how I met her.
Right, yeah. I'll do my best.
I appreciate it. I know it's a large ask. It's probably ridiculous, and I think that there's in time, if she gives me an opportunity, I can prove my value or my innocence, such as it may be. I know that not every name in that book is just condemned. I don't think. I certainly hope there's one that isn't, and I hope it's mine.
That it's you, yeah. I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for checking after me.
This feels like a very lonely situation.
It is.
Always worrying that someone's going to double cross you. That you can't trust anybody.
It's best to stay ahead.
I'd like to trust.
Trust is a different facet of the issue. Staying ahead, by whatever means necessary, my experience, is the way to survive.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, what has trust gotten me?
There.
Anyways, we should probably get back
We
before
should.
they start thinking that we're plotting against them and that they're
course.
gonna kill us upon it.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
I think I do appreciate you checking after me. I think I'm feeling better.
Yeah. I'm sure there might be something like, I don't know if we have some sort of like pink colored cloth that might be able to go over it. I know that might feel weird, but maybe you could get used to it to make it look like a normal tongue, or maybe
Until
you
then, I'll
could
just-
sew it together.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
think I'll
we'll
just sort of-
brainstorm.
yeah.
We'll brainstorm it.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. Yes,
Shall we? Can you
Yeah,
help an
we
old man
shall.
back to camp?
of course. And I once again extend my elbow to him.
Thank you.
Brilliant. As the two of you make your way back to the main chamber where the camp is now being broken down, you see Grukka standing off to the side, just staring out into the darkness. And Grukka, as you are examining that far side of the chamber, looking out past the river to where you saw the previous just hours ago, you saw that flash of maybe a torchlight or something. You heard a voice suggesting that they knew something devious about what you had done. You can just make out with your dark vision that there is indeed what appears to be a platform or a landing on the other side of the river, to 20 to 25 feet across from where you stand. You can see that there appears to be an entrance into a cave of some kind. One of you feel this hand on your shoulder, a big hand kind of gripping your shoulder. It kind of shakes you out of this sort of concentration that you have looking into the darkness. and you hear a voice from behind you say, "It's time, boy." At least that's how you hear it. The rest of the people would hear Drothak's voice saying, "It's time to go. You all right?"
Oh, is he speaking in Goblin or is he speaking in Common?
He's speaking in Common.
Common. Yeah, I kind of point over to the other landing, the other area, and I just, last night I woke up and I thought I saw, for a moment, a torchlight over there. Mere hours ago, maybe 2.5. It got me concerned. I don't know if anyone's following us, but just be aware.
Well, like I said before, this place can play tricks on a fella's mind.
Yeah.
Cause you to see and hear things that maybe ain't there. Did you take any of the broth last night with the boys?
I did not, but I plan on actually gathering some of that moss up before we leave. It looks like it could be a good time.
Good time. Yeah, maybe.
But not
Look,
right now.
It's time to go. Grab your things. Let's get those horses loaded. We shouldn't tarry
great.
here any longer. And he kind of looks out in the same direction that you were looking, as if he's trying to see what you were able to see, and he just kind of walks away and heads back down, going down the planks, those sort of zigzag planks down to the skiff, and you can see most of the crew is now getting things ready. They're pulling the oars out and preparing to depart as your companions are bringing the horses down. Mel, is there anything that you want to do before departing the campsite that we would want to address?
No, because now that we're getting ready to leave, she is anxious to pack everything up that she needs, get her horse ready, and get on that boat so they can set off and get to Crockport as quickly as possible. She's not worried about small talk.
Okay. I love it. All right. So at this point, all of you are loaded up onto this skiff, and they shove off, going down this secondary tunnel in a different direction. And throughout the rest of however many hours pass, it's difficult to tell how time goes here. There's no sun to be able to gauge the time of day. It's just darkness. The light of the hooded lantern that hangs on a post on the skiff deck, the faint bits and pockets of light given off by the bioluminescent fungi that grow in various locations. You see again the skittering of the slime crabs and maybe some other things along the way. But the rest of the journey goes relatively uneventful. But I would say that if there's any conversations that you would want to have with the crew or with each other, you could totally do that. And then we'll end up departing from the smuggler's route. So is there anything that y'all would want to have to role play out while you're on the skiff at this point?
Yeah, well, Grukka, back in his spot near the front of the skiff, he's excited about getting back. Hasn't been here in 3 years, not since the fire. And he's also visibly agitated because he wants to be back, but he doesn't want to be back. And he kind of, in his mind and vocally, he's kind of talking to himself. And then he stands up, like almost, human-like, very, very erect and everything. And he's like, I really don't want to be here, but the job brings me here. And then he kind of crouches back down, almost ape-like. And he just says, we need to be back. You need to face things. You may die here. You're probably going to die here. But one thing we know for certain is the orc has to die. And I stand up again and just kind of cross my arms and say to myself, I will face whatever I have to face. I'll kill whoever I have to kill, but I won't give in to you. And then you just kind of sit back down and just stare ahead the rest of the journey, not really moving.
Okay. Creepy as hell. You guys hear him talking to himself off on the side. Anyone else
Yeah.
have anything that they would want to do before we arrive?
Yeah, I think after hearing that, she'd like look at Grukka and then look to Mel and look back to Grukka and then look back to Mel, and she'd just kind of slide over and sit next to her and say, did you hear that?
Yeah, I'm choosing to ignore it for now, as I'm watching to make sure nothing ambushes us from behind.
Yeah, no, that's smart. That's fair. No worry. There's no worry there about that, about what just happened there.
Well, until we get out of this cave, I'm just gonna chalk it up to him going crazy.
You know what? You're so right. It's just he's just hearing things. That's why his posture is changing. I'm gonna tell myself that too. I like that. You say you've been keeping watch on our back. I do see you looking at the notebook very often. Has there been more names added?
Not recently, since our first little adventure, per se.
All right.
Why?
I was just curious. And she'll kind of keep this lower between them. I know that obviously how we first met was helping you get some of the names that are in your book. I was wondering, is there like a priority to these names? Are you just kind of going through whichever ones you can?
Going down the list basically keeps things in order.
So the newest name's at the bottom right now?
With an exception.
Great. Do you know what these people did? What they're connected to? Are they connected at all to anything?
They are connected to the most important thing in my life that I need to find out. And I normally don't like spilling my life. I think I keep that information close, because the less people who know, the better. But you've helped me. I do realize that some of these names have been provided by you. So I think a little insight would help you, I guess, understand my brother's journal and how it works a little bit better.
Yes, please, if you don't mind sharing.
Most of these names in here, besides, Portus and Magnus, have been crossed off because they had a hand in my brother's death. And they had a hand in me getting exiled from my village. So I've been on the run, chasing down these names that I don't get to choose that show up in my brother's journal. They just to help, appear, help me guide my way through redemption and revenge. So the only thing that's basically keeping me sane, I guess, in a way, or alive, is clearing my name and punishing the people who had a hand in the only family member that I had left, which was my brother. A hand in his death, in his brutal murder. So that's why I do what I do. I may seem cold to most people, but it's a barrier. It helps keep me on the straight and narrow for what I have to do.
I'm so sorry.
It is what it is. It can't change the past. So you just keep moving forward.
I lost the only family I had too.
Yet you're not on the same path that I am. I mean, ours are similar in a way, but different in some other ways.
Yeah. So these names appear in your book. Do you try and find out how they were involved?
That's the main reason. Find out why they did it. That's the main reason, is why. Why my brother. And how they're all connected to each other. Because one name will eventually lead to another.
Yeah. But Portis. His name's in the book and you haven't gotten him yet. Can I ask why?
Yeah, he for some reason is the exception. I'm keeping him alive because maybe he can bring me to the main person. He gives off that vibe of using him as bait will bring me to a bigger fish. So that's the
You
only
gonna
reason
keep
why
him
he's
alive?
alive. I don't see why not. He's very useful for right now.
I meant even after he brings you to the bigger fish.
That depends on what kind of fish I catch.
It's fair enough.
For right now, he's given me no reason to kill him before. But it gives me a little pleasure to keep him on his toes.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Mel. He seems really smart. I don't think he knows half of what he's gotten himself into. I think even if he can bring you to a bigger fish, which he might be able to, he seems to have connections. I don't think whatever happened to your brother, he genuinely knew anything about.
Well, his name is in my book for a reason. Like I said, I don't choose what names go in my brother's journal. He's there for a reason, and I have to find out why.
And you find out the reason why for every single person?
Pretty much. And once I've gotten my information and the hand that they had in my brother's death, I don't see a reason to really keep them alive anymore. But who knows? Portis might be an exception. He might not.
He has been so far.
So far.
I suppose only time will tell. Thank you.
No problem.
And once again, I'm sorry. I know you're not much of the talking sort when it comes to this sort of thing, but if you ever get a hankering for it, I relate to a degree.
It probably won't happen too often, but if it does, I'll come find you.
Nowhere to find me, and I'm sure even if you didn't, you'd figure it out real quickly.
Oh, you're very right about that.
And she'll kind of scoot herself back off to the supply area and wedge her hand through the ropes.
All
She
right.
seems much cheerier than she was.
She's lived another day. Even in the hands of this crew and their bugbear captain. The rest of the day goes by with little excitement other than the fact that at some point in hours after you've set out from the camp, you start to see the faint glow of sunlight at the end of the tunnel. And as the skiff rushes through the water course, you see the light begin to grow larger and larger as you can see the exit point of this tunnel into the daylight. And yes, you shield your eyes as the sun begins to almost blind you after nearly 2 days in the cold, damp darkness of these underground canals. The tunnel widens, the gloom giving way to the blinding sunlight. and the skiff emerges into what appears to be a broad swamp area. Crickets chirping, birds startled by your appearance out of the side of this rocky outcrop, a small entrance, much smaller than what it looked like on the other side. You get the sense that there are multiple entrances along this little rocky bluff. And nonetheless, the bright sun is sort of shimmering off the surface of the water. You can see marsh grasses and reeds swaying in a gentle breeze. The fresh air, a welcome aroma to your nostrils, and the sounds of rustling cattails, chirping birds, that sort of thing. You can see as you look down into the water now, you can see into the water, whereas before in the caverns it was just dark, black, and inky. You can see fish darting away under the water surface as the skiff is being expertly piloted on a well-known route, it would seem, through this marshland. These marshes kind of stretch out, and for those of you that know a little bit about the geography of the Crockport area, and actually, you know what? I'll bring up the map here.
Yay! More NW Meyer.
Yeah, let's go to. Oops. Let's go to the map here. Wrong button. I need to use Jay's wrong button. Okay, there we go. So you can see sort of west of Crockport here that there is like this sort of delta, almost like an estuary sort of thing going on west of Crockport. That's where you're emerging into. You're emerging into this broad. Thank you for that, Coco and Phantom. I appreciate you guys. As you emerge into this broad sort of estuary, that's sort of the habitat that you find yourselves in at this moment. And you just paddle. These guys are paddling through this as this fresh air is blasting you and covering you. You're feeling almost as if it's washing away some of the dampness of the tunnels. And you continue on for 2 hours, pushing your way through this marsh. Mosquitoes and other biting insects, being a bit of a nuisance, but not overwhelming by any stretch of the imagination. If you have means of fending off the bugs, you can do so, but they don't give you any sort of serious opposition, as it were. But the sun begins to set as your skiff begins to come closer, and you can see the lights of Crockport now as you exit through this estuary sort of area and make your way towards the city itself. And you can see that there are lights popping up as the darkness descends upon this area. You can smell the sort of briny aroma now of this space. You can hear a little bit of the familiar like clamor of the port itself. These low lanterns are reflecting off the water as you near the Warren Docks district. You can hear the creaking of these massive ships that are moored in the harbor, the crooked buildings that seem to lean over the edge of the wharves themselves, almost as if they threaten to topple into the water. Even now, with the darkness descending, you can hear the sounds of shipbuilding and saws and hammers going from a distant shipyard. Just assuming the continued progress of bolstering King Belver's navy is still underway, anticipating some sort of a dark confrontation with Ayuz. The route that you take with Drothak and his men it avoids the main dock area, and you instead arrive at what appears to be a secluded, half-sunken quay where the cargo is, where you can see there are just a few figures moving about, working on some ships or working the docks, as it were. And you can see the silhouette of two individuals as you near the docks. You hear a voice, Portis, a familiar voice. I knew you'd be here. I knew you would do it. My friends. And he waves, and you can see and you can hear the voice of Carver, your contact, as he shouts to you, and the boat steers towards the dock. The Hobgoblin oarsmen stowing the oars, jumping up as they did before with ropes to lash the boat to the sort of the crumbling quay. You can see Carver now smiling. He's got a pipe in one hand that's billowing smoke. You can see behind him, sort of back in the shadows a little bit, the blaze and the illumination of another pipe as you see this large orcish fellow with a broken tusk standing in the shadows behind him. It appears as though you've been expected. And as you make a movement to pull yourselves from the skiff and onto the dock, Carver comes over and reaches out a hand to help Portis. He reaches down to help you, and he doesn't even really like take notice of you as he's pulling you up onto the dock. And he nods to Drothak and to the men, and he looks around and he says, "What of Portis? Did you leave him behind then?"
Excuse me, young man. You had me for a moment. I thought you could see through my disguise, old chap.
Ah, you old fool, I knew it was you. And he kind of reaches over and just gives you kind of a little bit of a pat on the back, almost like a gentle hug a little bit. And as the rest of you begin to disembark, you watch as the hobgoblins begin to take the cargo and unload it and place it on the dock. And Carver walks over to the cargo and starts kind of just sort of standing there while they're unloading. And he looks over to you, Portis, says, "Everything's in order then. All of it. As planned."
Well, let us do an inventory in the morning and make sure. It's been a long couple of days of travel.
I mean, I can look through really quick. It's not that big of a deal. I took account of everything that we had.
Please do make sure it's all there. I have to tell you that this cargo leaves this very day.
Right, yeah.
He just sort of gestures towards you to do what you need to do. Telling me,
Yeah,
and then he
she'll
turns
start
back to Portis. Go ahead.
counting, and yeah, she just starts counting the swords, making sure all the ingots are there, going through, and she'll kind of like hit her head for a second, go into her bag and pull out the orb, and like look at it, and then look at the cargo and try to figure out a place to put it without it falling over or slipping off, like tying it down a little bit. Seems to be all there.
Very good, very good. And then he kind of like pulls Portis to the side and he says, "Did you run into any problems along the way?"
Well, I'm sorry to say I'm afraid that several of your companions at the lodge have been killed. We left in the midst of a battle with the Rangers. They had descended as we were in the middle of the night, as we were sleeping. We had to escape.
Gods be
It was
damned.
brutal. I don't know if anyone
What
survived.
of Dolan? That bastard
Dolan
owes
took-
me money.
Oh, well, that's ironic. He took a serious blow. I offered him aid and healing, and he fell again. I don't know. Redbeard was with him last I saw.
What of the other item?
I have it. It's a little awkward, however. During the fight when we were escaping, I fell, and I'm afraid the seal has been cracked. I don't want that to look odd.
Give me a deception check, please.
You motherfucker.
Wow.
Only problem is it's based on charisma, and my charisma sucks.
But like all this build, could he maybe have advantage with the build up of like explaining truthfully what occurred with the events?
No. Nice try. Nice try.
I'm trying for you, Ty. I'm really trying. Oh,
Come on,
you
Ty.
have
Roll high.
inspiration.
Oh, you do have. Oh, you know what I should say? You do have. You haven't used your inspiration yet, I don't think. But I will say this: you also got a hero coin from Folk and Myth, which means that if you fail, you can use the hero coin to re-roll if you'd like.
I will more than happily use that because I got a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead and re-roll it. And thank you, Folk and Myth, for that. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
13?
13. Okay. He looks at you with an eyebrow raised, and you get a sense that he knows your nature. He just puts his hand out in a gesture of like, give it to me.
I reach my midsection and I pull it from my belly and I carefully slip it over to him. What
He,
happened was I was dressed as a woman and I had it between my bosoms. It wasn't as secure as I thought because it was against my breastbone.
Someday I would very much like to see that particular disguise. And he puts it, without even looking at it, he puts the scroll case into the inside pocket of his jacket that he's wearing. And then he says to you, I hope for your sake, good friend, that you didn't read the contents of that.
Good grief, no. It would have been a horrendous error on my part to have meddled with any of this stuff. I mean, undoubtedly we looked and saw what was there. There are some very fancy weapons in that cache.
Indeed there are. All right, men, let's get this loaded and set out. We're on a timetable. And you watch as this large orc with the broken tusk and 3 other men come in and they start carrying off the cargo. And you can see just down the dock a little ways, there's a larger boat moored, and they start loading it onto that boat. And as you take note, looking over to that ship, you can see that the where is it here? You can see that the there's a name of the ship that is written on the side, and it is named the Harrower.
That's a sick name.
And with that all happening, the 4 of you have reached Crockport, the docks. And I would like to get a sense, as it is, the sun is coming down. I'd like to go around the table and get a sense for what you would like to do at this moment. This is a point now where, for all intents and purposes, the job has been done. We'll say, for the sake of completeness, that 4 sacks of gold have been set on the dock, each of them containing 250 gold pieces, as promised, for the job, after the accounting of all of the items has been met. So Carver's busy right now, gathering and getting things loaded to head out. So I'm going to go around the table, and I'd like each of you to kind of give me an idea of what you would like to do as we kind of end up this session. And you have Crockport at your disposal, so this will give us an idea of what we might encounter next week as well. So let's start with Grukka. Grukka, as you're watching all this happen, the sack of coin is laid down at your feet. It looks hefty. What would you like to do as you're standing here with your companions? You're kind of all just sort of staring at each other for the moment, deciding on what to do next.
Grukka's gonna kind of address, Portis, Mel, and Philomena, and he's gonna say, I would like to get together with you folks later, a few hours from now, and he'll give him a name of a tavern, one of the less
like the Rusty Anchor.
Yeah, the Rusty Anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And he says we can go there. It's one of the few places I know that no one notices anything. I have to go and do something. And Grukka's plans are, Grukka wants to go to where the smithy was. It's all burned out. He hasn't been there in 3 years. And he actually, when he saw that broken tusked orc, he had a quick flash thinking that it was what's his name? Cragtooth. Was it Cragtooth?
Yeah, Zakar Cragtooth. Yep.
It was.
Oh, give me a perception check.
All right.
Don't slaughter him instantly.
16.
You haven't seen the man for 3 years, but you do remember that the orc that you have a beef with had a broken tusk.
Yeah. He's going to kind of eyeball him a little bit, and he's going to kind of say his goodbyes temporarily to Mel and Philomena, Portis. And he's like, I got something personal I have to take care of. The drinks are on me when we get to the anchor.
Grukka, and very quietly, she's gonna kind of step forward. She's a little hesitant, but I couldn't help but overhear you talking earlier on the boat. Are you about to go kill someone?
Grukka just looks at Philomena and puts his big hand on her shoulder.
She like
Gives her-
flinches.
gives her kind of a really big wink and says, I know how you feel about me killing people, and the less you know, the better it is. I may come back. And he kind of like, with his, as a hobgoblin boy, he kind of leans forward and gives her a little peck on the cheek and says, you're a good girl. I don't know what you're doing with us. And he's just going to kind of, unless anyone else says anything to him, he's just going to kind of walk off into the night with his bag.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
Belle will, before Grukka leaves. She reaches down, grabs her bag of gold, and she says, yeah, I'll meet you at the tavern. I have to go deliver a death notice first. So I'll see y'all in a couple of hours. And then she walks off.
Actually, as Grukka's walking off, he turns around and says, in case you didn't remember, yeah, I'm kind of wanted in this town, so you don't know me.
It's good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, y'all don't know me either.
He trots off into the dark.
And Mel, what is your intention at this time after you leave the group? What are you gonna do? You're gonna go to the shipyard?
I'm going to go to the shipyard and ask around for Jameson Longton.
Okay.
Get a sense of where he is. And basically just deliver the bad news. And kind of, I guess, sympathize with him in it a little bit.
Sure. Okay. All right. I like it. All right, let's go to Portis next.
I am heading to the church. I'm going to doff my disguise, stuff it into my pack, and just go to the church. And I am going to, when I arrive at the church, going to greet whoever is there and tell them I'm going to my chambers to pray, and please not disturb me till the morning. If anyone comes for me, tell them that I will be available on the morrow, if they will, please.
Okay, but a well-needed rest for
And I've
Portis.
got to figure my shit out because I read that.
Yeah, you certainly do.
I'll be praying my ass off.
Some things changed for Portis on this business trip.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to find a looking glass and look at my tongue.
Yeah, you can easily do that. And we'll come back to you in just a second. And then Philomena, how about for you?
This is where she's grown up. This is where she's been pretty much her whole life, and she's gonna return to her little shoddy home, if she could even call it that, with the 250 gold pieces that she has. She'll probably stop by some sort of place to bathe and take care of herself. But really go home, or whatever semblance she could call a home, and
Thank you, Raiders.
maybe along the way visit her mom's grave.
Okay. Wow. Very sweet and lots of tears to be shed, I think. Okay, so we're gonna dive into these things in a little bit more detail at the beginning of the next session. Thank you, Raiders, for joining us. Phoenix Iwaki, thank you very much. I was just talking earlier about how we are starting to tease the fact that we've got a collaborative fundraising effort that's coming up for World Central Kitchen in partnership with Phoenix Iwaki, of course, and Folk and Myth. So more to come on that, but we're teasing it right now. That's going to be November 1st through the 10th. So next week, we're going to come back and we'll start out by kind of addressing some of these things. But I will say this. We'll go around just to kind of get the juices flowing for next week. Grukka, you pull up the hood of your cloak to kind of hide your visage as best you can as you walk the streets The sun is setting, or is now darkened, as you retrace the steps that you know well in this town. You spent a long time living here under the guardianship, if you will, and tutelage of Adon at his smithy that was burned to the ground. And as you make your way back to that location, you almost have a hard time finding the place as you look around and you see that in the 3 years that you've been gone, thank you so much, you guys, for the follow. Really, really appreciate the support. In the 3 years that you've been gone, the site of the terrible tragedy and the death of your father, for lack of a better term, your guardian, Adon, all of that rubble is gone. And in the time since you've left this place and gone into hiding, rebuilt in its footprint is a new smithy. And right now it is dark. It is evening time. You can still maybe see a little wisps of smoke coming out from the chimney from the forge. And there's a sign above the door that you can read. It says Hral's Smithy. We'll go next to Mel. Mel, as you make your way down to the ironclad shipworks, where Vargas, the one-eared elf, had given you information about his brother Jameson working, and how he had asked you to tell Jameson that he was okay. Well, of course, we know after the attack, the bust by the Callinston Rangers, Vargas was cut down. And you go to the shipworks and you can see that there is a massive wall that has been erected around it. Whether or not you've seen this before or not, I don't know. You've been in this town before, but the shipyard itself is protected. There are constructions and readyments that are taking place behind this sort of cloister that are to be protected from prying eyes. This is the king's naval shipyard on the shores of Whitestill Lake, as he is building as best he can the capacity to do battle with the coming death from the north, Ayus, as well as the Horn Society and the denizens of evil that are coming from the east and seeping into the lands. And so you come up to like a security booth where there are a number of individuals who are set guard, and they seem to be professionals. Like you know, kind of slack-jawed guard types who are not doing their job well. These guys appear to be probably well paid, and they are well trained. And as you walk up, you can make the decision of whether you want to make contact with them or not. But you do see that getting into the shipyard might be difficult. As you're standing there kind of making that decision, you see as a group of men walk out of the door and walk down the street and towards a local tavern that's just blocks away. And they go in, and you can hear as they swing the doors open and enter, there's all kinds of revelry and shouting. You get the sense that perhaps if you can't get in there, maybe Jameson Longton might be at one of these there's a series of different like bars right outside of the shipworks yard, right? So you can kind of make a decision whether you want to try to infiltrate and see if you can figure something out, or if you want to go and try to do some information gathering at one of the local taverns that are right outside the gates. Yeah, you got a couple of options there. I would say, Portis, as you return to the temple, you do have some meager accommodations there. You have a very stark room. You see some of the other clergymen who live here. There's not many. There's 4 of you total, including the high priest, Father Edmund Petrovic, who you know well. You've spent time sitting with him and talking philosophy and seafaring adventure stories and dogmatic conversations about Procan and his relation to the cosmos and that sort of thing. You don't see him. It's late. He retires early, usually after a couple of glasses of good port wine. But you do make your way back to your accommodations, and you do have a little looking glass And as you look in the looking glass and you examine your tongue, you can see, sure as shit, that thing is forked like a serpent's tongue. And it doesn't look like it was just cut and it just happened, you know? It looks like your tongue just forked.
Is it skinny like a snake tongue now too, or is it?
It's kind of the same. Like, have you ever seen people when they get like that operation done? That's kind of what it looks like. Yep. So it still looks like a human tongue, but it's just it's forked.
Yeah. I look at it for a minute and then I go, it's rather becoming.
Indeed. And Philomena, as you make your way, your pockets heavy with coin, to the site of your home, the small hovel that has come into significant disrepair since the passing of your mother. You haven't spent a lot of time there, but you can still consider it your home. As you're making your way through some of these dock district areas, you just happen to notice what appears to be a signpost, a place maybe where you'd go to get like a job board maybe, or maybe a place where you'd go to see news, like some sort of a proclamation posted from the king or something of that nature, right? Different messages that are put out, official messages, we'll say, that kind of thing. And you also happen to see that there are a series of wanted posters. And as you look up at these wanted posters, just instinctively, you see a rendition of yourself. And underneath, it says The Broker. Wanted for necromancy, treason, swindling, forgery, robbery, and assault. And instinctively, you just pull up the cloak and cover your face.
I think I take it down.
You can tear it down if you'd like. Yeah, you tear it off. Yeah. And go ahead.
She'd like lower herself and her visage would change to that of Bonnie Hart.
Smart. Yeah. And that's where we're going to end. We're going to end that right there as you guys have returned to Crockport with some different things happening. We'll dive into that stuff at the beginning of the next session and then kind of figure out where to go from there. Well done, my friends. You have returned to Crockport. We have only one thing left to attend to, one last piece of business. I would like you to roll some hit points because you have all just leveled up to level 4. So
oh my gosh.
The way we're going to do this is we're going to do it on air here. Just your hit points. So for Mel, you are going to be rolling. Let's see. What do you roll for hit points? You are rolling. Where does it say? You're going to roll a D8, Mel, and you're going to add your constitution bonus, which is 0. So roll a D8, and that's going to be what you get for your hit points. Brother Portis, you, my friend, are going to be rolling a D8 plus 1 because you have a bonus to your constitution. Grukka, you are going to be rolling a D10 plus 2 because of your constitution bonus. And Philomena is going to be rolling a D8 plus 2.
Let's go.
Okay, so note the number that you just got. That'll be your added hit points. As you have leveled up to level 4, we'll get your character sheets squared away before the next session.
This is the worst. Every time.
What did you get? What did you roll?
I roll so badly
What
on
was
hit
it?
dice, a 1.
Okay, that's not great. But you know what?
3.
Yeah, it is what it
I'll
is.
take 3 extra. I haven't gotten hurt at all yet, so that's something at least.
There you go. What about Grukka?
Grukka looks like he's gearing up for a big fight. Grukka rolled a 9 plus 2 is 11.
Ooh, very cool. And what about Portis?
God.
I rolled a 2 plus 1 for 3.
Okay. All right. So we are all leveling up, my friends. Things are only about to get more dangerous. So best of luck to you all. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you for the raid, Phoenix Iwaki, Bruingall. Thank you guys for raiding in. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate the follows. Thank you for supporting our channel. We really appreciate it. We play Dungeons and Dragons and other games here, including, let me bring this up because we've got, let me bring up this promo. We have some fun stuff happening later this month, actually later this week. Alan Henry is going to be running starting a short series on Tales from the Loop, which I'm very excited about. You're going to definitely want to come and check that out. That's on Saturday, this Saturday, the 19th from 5 to 8 p.m. It's going to be unlike any of the other games that we've played, most definitely. And Alan is bringing a bunch of his friends from New Zealand to play, and I get to sit in and hang out with them, and it's going to be really fun. So we've got some characters. We're playing young kids who are going to get into some hijinks in Pinehurst. And it's going to be really fun. And then in a couple of weeks in November, it looks like November 2nd, Shiv's coming back to run the third part of his Whisperwoods trilogy. Ian's going to be there. Tony's going to be there. Tony Shaw, your boy Big, Flea Monkey, and myself with Shiv behind the GM screen. We're going to have an absolute blast. So really appreciate folks who are bringing games to the channel, and just the creativity around here is off the hook. So, and lots of fun things coming up in the coming year as well. So thank you all for supporting us. We really appreciate it when you support us. We get to support other people like the folks who make the great music that we listen to, Tabletop Audio. We get to support people like Anna Meyer and the Greyhawk maps that Anna is producing. It's a beautiful circle of life of creativity, and we appreciate you being part of it. I'm going to stop talking here. I'm going to let my friends give some outros, remind you who they are, what they have going on. If you have anything you want to say about tonight's session, please do. I'm going to take the time to look for our raid targets. So everybody stick around. We're going to raid into one of our friends here. Let's go ahead and start with Rachel, please.
Hi guys, I am Rachel, also known as Ktyria, where you can find me on Discord, the Guild Superior Discord, in case you ever want to reach out to me or invite me to something or just chat. I would probably say yes to any of that. Holy shit, thank you guys for being here, for coming along on this wild ride. It has been so much fun, and we have 2 more sessions of this. Come back next Tuesday. Please watch through the past 2 if you haven't seen it, because it adds so much context. It is crazy. That's it.
Thank you so much for being here and bringing your excitement and I love this character. That I just feel like something is about to boil over with Philiomena. I can't wait to see what it is.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's go next to Coco Bunny.
Hi, everybody. I'm Coco Bunny 94. You can catch me on my Twitch channel. Starting to stream more next week as I'm gearing up for my 30th birthday stream next Friday. I would be happy to just see all of y'all just come say hey. But this week, what have I got going on? Oh my goodness. Thursday, I will be playing on Jay's channel. With the normal people on Thursdays, and then Saturday we had some new people do a session 0 yesterday who are joining Nuclear Me, and we're playing that game on Saturday. So come out and watch. Yeah, come out and watch. Some new people who have never, I guess, played old school D&D before, so it'll be fun. But other than that, I don't have anything else this week. But I'm so happy to be here. I love doing this. It's gonna be so sad when it's over. I love Mel. I love her. I love everything about her. I love this campaign. It's amazing. I love being here. I cannot wait to see what else we can get into, and to see if Portis lives or dies.
Oh gosh, I tried, buddy. I tried for
What's the over and under on Portis making it through 5 sessions of this mini campaign? That's the question.
Now he's got that forked tongue. He's even more suspicious.
Yeah, that's creepy as hell. Wow. Thank you so much, Coco. I am loving your role play, and Mel is such a hard ass. I can't wait to see what happens next week, because it's going to be great. So thank you for bringing that to the channel. Let's jump over to Jeff, ScottishJeff.
How you doing, folks? This is ScottishJeff. You can find me the next 2 Tuesdays here, and you can also find me in the Guild Superior Discord when we play Shadow Dark, non-streaming. If you're interested, and if you're out there and you need someone to play in your game, by all means, I'm available every night but Tuesday for certain reasons. Grukka doesn't know what he wants to do now. Now that the shop's been rebuilt, he might just break down, and who knows?
And burn it down again.
Oh yeah, I thought that might be a little surprise for Grukka. But 3 years is a long time. Things change pretty quick. Yeah, especially in a town that is gearing up for the war effort. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad to be here. This has been a fantastic game. I never thought I could have so much fun and not swinging a sword at anybody. But
right?
Yeah, playing a morally questionable character is a good change from playing normally a good ranger in my other game.
Sure.
So I get to let loose for a bit.
Stepping out of your
Thank
comfort
you.
zone. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Appreciate your awesome role play and your sweet audio setup. Let's jump over to Dungeon Mr. Ty.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much, Dave. I really appreciate your support. You are so supportive of so many creators out in the world, and I am blessed to be included in that group. I am Dungeon Mr. Ty from Adventure Sling Productions. AdventureSling.com has all the stuff. Brand new episode of the Chronicles of Nephis. If you're following that, that's a dramatic audio drama actual play thing. So you want to follow it in order. Session 0 to Session 4. It's currently available. The Adventure Sling podcast is also out there. We've got 31 episodes over the last 2.5 years with all kinds of really cool guests from the industry, the doing stuff, and more in the future. Chronicles New of Arden in production and layout right now. The role-playing game set in the new garden of New of Arden, Earth punk fantasy setting using our own Fortune's D4 system. So
good.
There will be more of that ahead as well. And I will be at Big Bad Con in 10 days, Thursday through Sunday. If anyone's happens to plan on heading to San Francisco for that, that is an incredible convention among many incredible conventions. So I hope to see you there.
Thank you so much, Ty. I appreciate your kind words and your immense creativity. Your portrayal of Portis is fantastic. And I couldn't help myself but modify him in just a special way that I figured you would really like. So, so there we go.
Talking through his teeth a lot.
I took a liberty, and I think it paid off. So, you guys,
tattoos, I'm gonna go get my tongue worked.
That's right. Thank you to the chat also for hanging out with us and following us and supporting this channel and supporting these players. This is awesome. You're a big part of why we do this too. The energy that you bring is really fun and important. So thanks a lot. We're going to raid into our friends over at Legacy of Fools. So let's give them a good old fashioned Guild Superior hello once we get in there. Whew, what a night. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on Saturday for Tales from the Loop. Saturday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Central. Follow us on socials. I think do we have socials? We have socials, don't we? Yes, we do. We have to have socials.
Henry's great. He's a great player. He's got to be.
It's going to be really, really good. I can't find our button for socials, but anyways, you can find us. We're on all of them. I think we're even on Threads. I'm done. My brain is fried. I got to go. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.